And our first order of business is a pledge of allegiance. All please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, do we have a roll call, please, for who's present?
Kenneth Bamford.
Here.
Joyce Carter. Here. Ronald Hammond.
Here.
Mark Howard.
Here.
James Harvey is absent. Barbara Koch. Here. Thomas Mulligan is absent. Kim Rhodes. Here. Robert Schaefer is absent. Kenneth Ware.
Here. Thank you very much, and we have a form. So our first order of business is a resolution appointing our new board secretary. We have copies of a draft of a resolution before us. We need someone to make a motion to accept this resolution.
Second.
Is there any discussion about this?
Welcome.
Fourth thing. All right, seeing that, may we have a roll call vote, please, to accept this resolution as written?
Kenneth Bamford.
Yes.
Joyce Carter. Yes. Ronald Hammond.
Yes.
Mark Howard.
Yes.
Barbara Koch.
Yes.
Kim Rhodes.
Yes.
Kenneth Ware.
Yes. So the resolution is accepted as written, and welcome aboard. Thank you very much for being with us. Then our next order of business is application LUV 115, 100 Academy Street. Counselor, I'm sure you're all set to take over?
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Simone County Law LLC, on behalf of the applicant. Before I get started, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to,
Excuse me 1 second, I left a piece out. I have to do the Land Use Open Public Meeting Act Statement of Adequate Notice. We have to put that on the record. I'm sorry, I missed that. Thank you. I hereby announce and state that adequate notice of this meeting was provided by the Secretary of the Rockaway Borough Land Use Board by preparing a notice dated January 6, 2026, specifying the time, date, and place of this meeting, posting such notice on the bulletin board of Borough Hall, filing said notice with the clerk of the county of Morris, and publishing the notice in the Daily Record newspaper. I hereby hand a copy of this notice to the Secretary of the Borough of Rockaway Land Use Board for inclusion in the minutes of this meeting. All of the above being in accordance with NJSA 10-4-6, etc. Open Public Meeting Act, and I'm Ken Ware, the chairperson. I'd like everyone to know that in the event that we have to leave this room in a hurry, there's an emergency exit ahead of you to your right or behind you to your left. And right now, I'm turning my cell phone into airplane mode. So hopefully we won't have any disturbances. And thank you very much. And excuse me, counsel, now we're back to you again.
thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Before we get started with the substance of our application, I just wanted to thank Melissa. Last time I was before this board 2 years ago on a different applicant, but the same site, we had the pleasure of working with Colleen. I understand the torch has been passed to you. You got us from filing to a public hearing date with ease, and it being almost exclusively a land use council, working with a competent and kind board secretary just makes our work so much easier. So thank you very much, Melissa, and nice to meet you. Anyway, we are here on behalf of the American Christian School seeking preliminary and final site plan approval together with D and C variance relief. We are proposing to construct a gymnasium to the existing school together with various site improvements. I have 4 witnesses with me this evening that you're going to hear about our beautiful design. The headmaster of our school will be up first to discuss the school's operations. Next, we will call our project engineer, who will take you through the existing conditions on site, followed by the proposed conditions. Third will be our project architect, who will show you elevations of our proposed gymnasium. And then lastly, what I call our cleanup hitter will be our planner to provide the planning proofs for the variance relief that we are seeking tonight. Our proposed gym is really customary and integral to any school facility. And the overarching overarching theme that you'll hear this evening from our various witnesses is that the inclusion of the school at this site is entirely consistent and standard with educational design. And the anomaly really is that which exists today, a school without a gymnasium facility. Unless there are any preliminary questions of me, I would like to get started and call our first witness, the headmaster of the school, Ms. Kristen Brennan.
Please rise. Raise your right hand, please. You solemnly swear that the testimony you are about to offer before this board shall be the entire truth. And if you would identify yourself for the record, please.
Kristen Brennan.
And spell your last name.
Brennan, B-R-E-N-N-A-N.
Thank you. Kristen, can you please provide your qualifications and experience with the school? And by that, what is your title?
I'm called head of school or headmaster, and I've been that for 16 years now.
And what is your educational background?
I have a degree from Northwestern, and my first career was in corporate, and then I moved over to education.
How many years have you been with ACS?
20, if you count for my children being enrolled.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I would like to offer Ms. Brennan as an operational witness as to the day-to-day.
We're more than happy to accept her as in that position and those credentials. Thank you.
Thank you. Kristen, can you please tell the board how long has ACS been in operation in the borough?
In the borough, it's 4 years, and in a whole existence, it's been 61.
And where are the other campuses located?
We have a campus in Secasana for 61 years, and then 4 years ago this, and then we just took over an elementary school in Whitney, because they were struggling, so we took that on.
Can you provide a summary of the educational services offered by the school?
We're a typical preschool through 12th grade, and at this location, we're 7th through 12th grade. So it's all traditional curriculum, we're a classical school.
Can you please briefly describe the history of development at the property?
So as I understand from when it was built?
That's correct.
Right, so it was built around the 1900s, as you know, and in 1984, the second half of it was built. The addition, which I would say is half and half. And in that time, they built a big room. It's just not, it's not a real gym, so you can't have any sports in it, but we can have our PE class in there. And that's the only additions they've had.
Let's take the board through the day-to-day operations of the school, starting with students and student life. The grades again for the Rockaway location?
7 through 12.
7 through 12.
So middle school and high school, and that's all total, we're very small, 110 students right now. What can I tell you, the
Hours and days of
so
operation.
they're supposed to be in their seats at 8:15 in homeroom, and the school ends at 3. The doors open at 7:30 in the morning, and they have to be picked up by 3:30 in the afternoon, unless they're in sports or clubs or things like that.
You say they have to get picked up. So how do students arrive at the school?
It's all
and
driving,
depart?
there's no buses.
There's no
Only
bus.
the parents who drive. So they drop off in the morning, at the entrance, and then they pick up between 3 and 3:30. So they're spread out. They'd have 45 minutes to drop off in the morning and a half hour in the afternoon to come get the kids.
And do any of the children bike to your knowledge?
No, we don't have any bikers.
How do the children, is there real service for the children's lunch, or do they pack lunch for
They
school?
can pack lunch, but we'll also take orders, and there's just look at our other campus, we get like 8 orders a day that we take from the public school, I can't remember the name of the company, but they go there, they deliver the 8 or 10.
Lunch,
Yes,
something like that?
yeah.
After school activities, what takes place on your campus today?
Well, on the campus, not much, because clubs can happen during the day. Track practice in the spring can happen at the campus. Sometimes our baseball team will practice out in the field. In the fall, maybe they'll do running around there and everything, but what we do right now is we rent a field for soccer, which we'll always do, and then we rent different gyms, we go to different churches for the sports. So typically, we're kind of closed down by 3:30.
Tell us about the number of staff on campus.
I wrote that down. We have a lot of part-time teachers, but right now we have 12 full-time and 9 that come in as part-time.
And what are their hours?
Same thing, they arrive at 7:30, they leave 3:30, or some of them might stay till however late they want.
Do they have designated parking spaces in your parking lot?
No,
No,
there's no space that everybody
just parks.
just parks where they want.
So we said there's no busing company, meal deliveries, Mascianos.
Well, you're right. I mean, we might even go there and get it, I'm not
If
sure.
I'm listening not correctly, but I understand. How about trash and recycling collection? Who handles?
So we have a vendor that comes and gets that once a week.
Do you have any security measures at the school?
We have cameras everywhere, but we don't have a security guard.
Please describe to the board what you are proposing in your own words and why. Why the gymnasium and why now?
We're so blessed to move in to the school, it was so exciting and amazing. But it was definitely disappointing that we're gonna have this high school, and it's just so hard to have a high school and even grow a little bit. We wanna stay small, we know that the school's successful because our classes are like, our grades are like 20 each, give or take. So we do wanna stay small like that, but without the gym, I see that the high school's it's just not flourishing. So I want I want the parents to be able to choose a place that has our kind of message and service and leadership and all the things that we pride ourselves on, good academics, but that they have the foundational things like a gym. We would like to do our basketball games there. We'd like to have gym class in a real gym. It's just been a big lack, and I just was very disappointed because it's been a public school, as you know, for years and years. So I wish it had been built before, but here we are. So it's just for foundational reasons that I feel like without it, I don't know that the high school should continue like that.
So you have traditional gymnasium sports teams already, such as basketball and volleyball. Where do those athletes practice?
We rent from 2 different churches for the most part.
I'm sorry, rent other venues?
Yeah, Dover Sportsplex, 2 churches, and then what we do is we arrange all the parents come and pick up the kids after school, so we're doing carpooling. That's another reason we want to, obviously we have to have the sports, it's just so critical to the kids of learning that they want to learn athletic, that it's critical to a successful school. And the problem is trying to get the kids to those places, like it's one thing to have a parent come pick them up at the end of practice at 4 or 5, but then to come get them at 3 and then drive them there and pick up, it's definitely a detriment.
How long has ACS been considering this addition?
Since we moved in.
Would you say it's fair to say that your board or committee consulted with design professionals
Yes.
to come to the plan that we're at today,
Absolutely.
presented before this board?
Absolutely.
This wasn't a back of the napkin consideration to walk in here with a plan, right?
No, we have a very small budget, very small, we're a nonprofit, and we spent money even on the plan of this quite a bit for ours, what we would consider is very high to do this the right way.
Next, I want to talk about what might change operationally should the board act favorably on this application and approve your gymnasium. Will your hours of operation change? Will your staff increase?
No.
Do you think that your classrooms will increase? The need for extra classrooms?
No. Because the whole idea is each classroom's really big. So right now, you might have a class, like you split your juniors into maybe mainstream and honors and college level and that. And so, but they might be in a classroom that exists with only like 6 or 7 kids in them. So even if we grow a bit, which, like I said, we have a goal of at least 20 per grade, we have plenty of room within each classroom. We don't need to add more classrooms.
So
If that makes sense.
you might see a small increase in students.
I hope so, because we do want to grow a bit there. Like at our other school, we stick at 22 per grade at our elementary school, and we have a waiting list, which is lovely. And so we really believe in this certain size is the best formula.
So something that would change would be, you would have your sporting events now at the high school. Is that
Volleyball and
correct?
basketball, right.
So those games could take place at your facility
Rather than our home games and our practice.
rather than coordinating, shuttling the kids to one of the venues that you rent.
Especially practice.
What other type of events would you imagine the school holding at the gymnasium? Like would, for example, I imagine you hold an annual back to school night currently.
Yes, we do.
Would that be moved to the gymnasium venue?
Right, we'll still have that big room we have, so it'll be in one or the other. We always have that. Our night events are not that many for us. The back to school night, we do a charity event. I'd like to have that there. We just haven't been doing the spring event, but we should do that. And I think mostly what would change is right after school, we would have basketball practice and then sometimes games and volleyball. Maybe a couple of social events through the year then.
Now, can you think of any outside school, so not pertaining to your students, nothing to do with the parents, like a back to school night, can you contemplate any other after the school is closed events that you might open up the gymnasium to?
I mean, I already had, it was a Boy Scout thing, so that would be great if we could start. The whole idea is not to have, I would love that the building wasn't empty all the time, not late at night or whatnot. I don't want the neighbors to be bothered, and we truly don't, but just right after, if other groups were looking for gyms, it feels like we're all rolling around looking for the same property, so we would definitely open it up to that.
Just going along the lines of trying to be a good neighbor, ACS currently has allowed the Borough Rec Committee to use its parking lot for their annual Dark Lake Spooktacular, is that correct?
Yes.
So you would be open to continuing to allow municipal
Right, that's
committees
been a
to
good
use the
example,
gymnasium?
if you've heard of that, but it's the capital of the town, so then our location is perfect for it, so they can use the parking lot and grounds and everything, and they were very appreciative, and we loved having that, so we go do that going forward.
Now, as I know, because I was here 2 years ago on the application, you are the landlord of the church that operates after school closes in the same facility, is that correct?
Yeah.
And it's recently come to your attention that there have been noise complaints surrounding those church,
No, that was early on, and so we tried to do so many things, and I thought several neighbors told me it was going well, but I just learned it's not. I just literally tonight learned that there's still vibration coming through the floors and whatnot to the neighbors, so we're definitely gonna take a look at that.
I was gonna say, as a landlord, you'll be able to handle that situation with your tenant, is that correct?
It will, I have to figure out, I thought it was fixed, so then I just heard this, so I've got to figure that out, because I don't want it.
Have you received any other complaints, whether it be due to one of the school's events or the churches that you're aware of?
No, for the church, it's been the noise that we had to fix, which again, I thought it was all fixed, because took that really seriously. Otherwise, no, the neighbors have been great, I can't think of anything.
And just to hit one more thing regarding the church, you are still, they are still under contract with you. There's 2 more years on their lease, is that correct?
Yes, but we have an out that they can pay right away, so because they really want to buy their own location. So, you're just getting my opinion, but my opinion is that it would be, I bet in less than a year, just because I talked to them, but I don't know.
You think they might be vacating in less than a year? Would you open the access to the gym to the church? Have you thought about that?
I mean, I think I've got to figure out what's going on with the noise, so I don't know what floor reverberates less or more, and I have to understand that science, so they're comfortable in the room they're in. They have not grown it at all, they're not growing anymore, so I'm like, I don't know yet, I'll tell you the truth. I don't know which room they use.
And my last question, so the events that you have held after school or at night, when you have overflow parking, where do you direct your students and parents to park?
We haven't had any, but the one time that, all the snow we just had, we ended up making snowbanks really big in the parking lot, and we used the all-day Bible bee that we had at our school. So we had 6 other schools come from New Jersey, come to compete in this Bible bee. I was worried that they wouldn't be able to fit, because so many of our parking spaces were used up by our snow, because we don't usually fill our parking spaces at all. So I asked United Methodist, and we have a good relationship with them. Our kids are gonna go help their PBS, and we've been meeting with the pastor a lot. So they have agreed, and I just talked to them again, we constantly are talking, that they will be our plan B. If for some reason we ever use up all our parking spaces, they have a big parking area. And we would rent, so that parking space, so that would be a win-win for them, because they need that kind of thing too, so,
So right now, verbal agreement
yeah.
for overflow parking,
Absolutely.
using their parking
Yes.
lot. Well, that does it for my questions for this witness, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Do the professionals have any questions?
Sure, and just so everybody in the public knows, our planner couldn't make it tonight, she had some medical issues, but she is on Zoom right now, and she can hear everything, and I'm sharing notes back and forth, so. The only question I had for this witness, is I didn't hear it in the testimony, was you mentioned parent drop-off and pickup, and that there's no bike. Do any students drive to school, the seniors? And about how many cars is that? Would you
I
know?
think right now, it's like 8, exactly, because we have 5, so 20 seniors. And we make them park in a certain area, so that they have to walk farther.
So I was about to say, so there are designated parking spots perhaps for
Somewhat,
just
where
the
you stay
student?
down, right, let the grown-ups stay closer to the building as well.
No, and this might be a question more geared toward the engineer, but I'll just put it out there for thought, is, when we talk about the number of parking spaces and things like that, kind of what the maximum number of student parking spaces there would be if you grew kind of what you're thinking, and then, again, if you needed that overflow parking, as you mentioned, that the Methodist Church has offered that, but again, if you got to that point, that would likely need to be a more formalized agreement for something like that, so we can ensure that the overflow isn't impacting the neighborhood and the neighbors.
Yeah, when you look at our parking lot every day, at this point, we'd have to quadruple our senior class. That would be a dream, and it wouldn't, because I would never want that many high school kids, but, I mean that nicely. So I see what you're saying, but I don't think during the day, the normal thing, that
Okay.
will never happen given how the enrollment is. Like, you have to really
Really beef it up,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, no problem. Golden, do you have any questions for this witness?
Hi, everyone, are you okay?
I'm putting you up on top volume, I think they can, it's pretty loud.
Okay, you need to translate for me.
No, you're
yeah,
loud.
Sorry. I apologize for physically be there. I had a medical procedure yesterday and I did not realize it would really take me out today. So I probably should have just expected that. No, my only question, I think for the headmaster, and I apologize if you went through this at first, because I was muted off for a moment, so. Is there like an increase in I know that the church is there, and I think the testimony might have been that this is like a gym, it's not increasing classrooms, so it might not be increasing school enrollment. But with this temporary church that's there, and I understand that it might be leaving in about a year or less, is this increasing sort of that capacity because this is a space that they could use?
Is the church increasing those spaces?
So the tenant that you have?
Yeah, the church.
The church?
Yeah.
Would they be able to increase their enrollment and capacity because of
No.
this space?
It's not correlated. Like, they have room in the space that we have. They can put more people in if they wanted.
So just piggybacking off that question, so this gym space would not be utilized by them?
I don't know where I would put them. If I want to put them in the quietest room,
Okay.
and that's where I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think the point is, the church is never going to grow. The church isn't growing or not growing, not because there's not space.
Okay.
It's just the natural size of that church.
Understood.
You know what I mean? And that I'm really confident in, because they would have put more people in there if they could grow it.
Gotcha. So kind of given what you've said about the noise complaints and things, if the new gymnasium had better acoustics
Yeah.
and sound attenuation, then you would move all functions into that space for that sole reason, so that the sound
Yes.
could be better managed.
Yeah, we have to, I'm gonna figure this out, because we can't have it be where the neighborhood's affected.
Yeah, no, understood. Okay, thank you. Well, then, anything else?
Now, I don't know if the board, I don't wanna like already start this off with a bunch of conditions, but I do know that that was a completely separate use approved under its own merit, under its own use variance, and they testified to a certain capacity. So I just wanna make sure that there's not an increase potential there, and if that needs to be memorialized or somewhere, it's something for the board to consider.
And we haven't noticed any increase in there.
Thank you. Any questions from the board members?
I have one question. With respect, when you saw this site, why did you choose it when you knew it didn't really stand up to the optimal use, for example, in gym?
Because it had the gym, it's a great question, it had the gym, we're calling it a gym, that's all around, so I can have a PE class there. And if I had to, I could continue to rent them all over, you know, these gyms and everything. I just see now that as we're in it, that even when, high school students are coming and everything, it's like, not being able to go right to the practice afterwards, cheer on this team or whatever. It sounds very small, those things, but that lack of that gym is bigger than I thought. The impact on the students' quality or caliber of just foundational life as a high school. I didn't foresee that. And I did think we could keep running. I also didn't foresee how much problem it would be driving the kids right after school to all these practices. Because I pictured this, students get picked up at the end. But I'm not thinking, oh my gosh, this is a whole caravan ran every day too for soccer. We're going to still have to do it for soccer and baseball and softball, but volleyball and basketball's the biggest season.
Well, I asked because you initially said you knew you were looking at that when you originally looked at the building.
Yeah, when the way she asked it, I'm like looking at it thinking, oh my gosh, my dream would be to have this be everything. We want to stay here for another 60 years. But I didn't mean I don't know, I just looked at it and thought what it could be. And knew that if also as a nonprofit, the dream that we could raise enough money to build the gym seemed near impossible. And then we had a big donor come in who just has fallen in love with what ACS is producing. The kids really are, they're still human children, but they're really amazing. And so they came in and made this big donation and it just started to grow. And that's in the last year and a half.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? And thank you very much for your testimony.
Hold on.
Oh, sorry, John.
No, public.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's been a
It's
while.
been so long since we've had a meeting. I'm losing control of how we do things. I'd like to open the meeting to the public. Is there anyone here from the public that has a question about what testimony they just heard? There'll be another time when you can give opinions and testimony, and now it's a question about what you just heard. Sir, I saw your hand. We need your name and where you're from.
I'm Paul Wilson, 89 Academy Street, across the road from the school. I do have some questions. There has been a gym there all along. Is that gym now destroyed?
No, you can't have any high school sportsmen. The ceiling's not high enough for volleyball and it's not big enough for basketball.
It was made for a junior high.
Is that
when it
right?
was created.
Yeah.
Wasn't made for high school.
Okay, yes.
Okay, so that's probably why. And you folks here probably all had kids in that school at one time. Maybe you're too young. My wife and I have 15 children that we raised across the street. We know that area quite well. We've been there for many, many years. I'm surprised that I know how small the parking lot is. I also know that the parking lot was so small that a bus or a car ran into
Time out, sir.
the wall.
Time out.
by the
You're
Presbyterian.
kind of giving testimony now. You're not asking a
My
question.
question is, are they going to repair Presbyterian Church wall that was crashed
Okay. Yeah.
about 3 or 4 years ago, and I guess forgotten about?
Right, I can answer that. It was already crashed when we bought it. It was already crashed. It was nothing we did. As a matter of fact, the developer or the owner before had a fence, we have a fence and then we have the broken wall, but I wanted to call the Presbyterian Church to ask them if they would respectfully fix it because it was so broken down, but it's not on our property, nor did we do it.
Any other questions, sir?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Priscilla
We need to know
DeMasi.
We need who you are and where you're from.
Priscilla DeMasi, 99 Academy Street. I live next to Mr. Wilson. One of my questions is based on this document that was distributed to us, the neighbors within, so many square feet, is that there it appears that the language in here is gonna be asking for more variances on principal uses. And I'm extremely concerned that that will, you know, will other uses, will the gym be rented out for functions? Will the gym be rented out to the church for functions? Will there be other groups?
Stand by, one question at a time.
Sorry,
That's fine.
Okay.
So the first question is, will the gym be rented out?
yes,
It's a good question. I was thinking that would be good to either allow it to certain groups or to rent it, like I was saying, the Boy Scouts, they're like, we'll pay you. I don't know if I should or not. I certainly would like the money, but I'm just being honest. So I don't know, but I think you're worried about bigger things, right? Like
my concern, and I'll say it during my
Yeah.
testimony, is the impact to
Yeah.
the neighbors
Right.
and the use. There was a variance that was granted
right,
that has impacted us
right.
without resolution.
The church.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, so,
So my concern is that, you know, the church will use this, you know, will the gymnasium be accessed after school hours by others and until what time in the evening?
we will, because we have games till like 6. Our back to school night starts at 7, but back to school night's going on right now, as you might know, like once a year
Right.
you'll see that, once a year you see us there like a couple different nights, right, with things. That will continue. Again, I was kind of thinking that, and I'll keep coming back to this Boy Scout troop, people like that, if they want to come have their meeting there, we've had several of them that want to use a classroom or this or that, they would come. If you're saying like a large group who would have a huge shindig or
That's
Right.
my concern.
Right,
is
and
that
I don't
if
want,
it's
I
a
don't know
large
what to
group-
say that, because I don't want to do things that causes community disruption. So, you know, a gym at night, I don't know, right now we have the big room at night, and we're not renting it out to these big groups. So this bigger gym, I don't think that our method of operation changes. We're just asking for the bigger things, to have a bigger room to have our practice in. Like, in other words, the church isn't gonna change. The church is using this room, and now we're gonna have a bigger room. So you already see we're not renting out a lot to people.
I understand that.
Yeah,
So, but this gymnasium is not just gonna be for the students then. It's gonna be possibly for the community then, to be rented as a revenue source, possibly, whether it's a not-for-profit group or not. So then, is it truly a rental space? And what could people rent it for then?
yeah, I know.
You know, and, you know, once you change a variance, as we all know, then, you know, other.
But the variance is still that, what we are,
well, that's what I was gonna
All right,
say.
so that's my
No, I
concern.
get
I
it,
have
yeah.
testimony, so that was my very strong question.
To
about
answer your
What
first,
this is gonna be used for, and how can the board control that?
Yeah.
Once, if it's granted, what is the oversight to ensure that these?
that the bigger room isn't rented out, even though we're not doing the smaller room right now, except to the church.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
is it a school, is it a church, or is it a rental hall?
Well, it's a school,
It's just-
Yeah.
so that
But it's
answers
also
your
a
first
church.
point. That's correct, under a
So-
variance approval, that's correct.
What else could it be then?
Yeah, I
Well,
don't
this,
want,
this
yeah.
board has approved it to have 2 principal uses on site. It is originally a school, and 2 years ago it was approved for a church use.
Right, and I
We
think
are
the
not-
language in here is asking for extensions of principal use.
It is not,
Oh,
that is not
I
correct.
don't want that, but I still.
Legally, that is not correct. We are not asking for any new use tonight.
Tonight.
No, I mean, in there, we
Okay.
won't get it, as I say, we're still just a school, but I see your point, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone else from the public? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I just want to make a quick comment about the mic. It times out, and if, while you're not facing us, if you guys could just hit the button, I'd like just to tell our guests that, thank you.
It's on.
You know,
Oh, okay, we couldn't, you're not there, okay, thank you, I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's just for the record, that's not anything to do with our official recording. It's a public service that is being done to help the public understand what goes on in a meeting. Yep. Anyone else from the public have a question? Yes, sir.
Yes, Angelo Natal, 151 Mount Pleasant Avenue, Rockaway. This addition is going where the existing parking lot is now?
Not where the parking lot is, you know where the flagpole is?
Yes.
It'll be there. It'll be attached to the building,
And how
so we're
is
just
the
extending
addition?
You'll be able to see when we put up our next witness,
Okay.
we'll present a board so that you'll be able to visualize the proposal
Okay.
better.
No, I was just wondering, because of the square footage itself, it was
Yeah.
gonna, for the parking lot, if it was going there,
Yeah, no, it's not.
Okay, so
We're
it's
actually
not-
we're gonna get more parking spaces.
okay, that's
That's
what
the way we're
that's,
rearranging it, yeah.
thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Anyone else from the public? Yes, sir.
Jeff Nemechek, 15 Upland Avenue. What is the cost of the facility going to be, and how is it going to be paid for? And do you have the funds to actually follow through with the facility,
Right,
as it's now projected to be?
right, the cost is estimated at 3.6 million. And we have almost all of that, but I am going to probably, if not for a donor, we're going to go and get a bridge loan.
Okay,
The last bit.
donors,
We have many donors, but we did have one donor do 2 million,
we have donors, however many.
who already gave us the money, yeah.
Oh, 3.6?
No, 3.6 is the total.
Yeah, okay. And how much financing do you have?
2.65 is what we have right now,
All right,
like in our, pocket versus committed.
okay, so you have a high confidence level this project's going to go through financially speaking?
Yes, I didn't want to even do this until I had that, so just to not go through this without knowing that was,
Okay, so that's a factual question. The other factual
Yeah.
question is, looks like this project is going to block, you have an entrance and exit on Hoagland, you have an entrance and exit on the Academy.
Yeah.
Looks like the Academy entrance and exit is going to have to go.
no,
Going to keep it?
Yep.
Because the way the building went out, it looked like it would block it.
no, we're definitely keeping the exits exactly the same. So right now, we'll show you in the picture.
Okay, it looked like you had a corridor that went down.
We have a corridor, but we go all the way around the building to get, to get in and out. So you said the Hoagland exit and the Academy exit
Right.
are both staying,
Because then-
and entrance, right?
Okay, I don't understand that. You have to show me.
Okay.
I'm just going to do that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, that's it for now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else from the public have a question? Seeing none, I close the meeting to the public. I thank all the people for asking, and thank you for your answers.
Wait, are you closing it so we can?
No, every witness you'll be able to question, and then after the testimonies are all through, then the public gets to give their opinion and give testimony, to be sworn in if you care to be, and you can tell the testimony for what you see and know goes on in the area. Okay? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll sit here and look at this one.
Mr. Chairman, our next witness is Mike Roth, our project engineer.
Mr. Roth, you stand please, raise your right hand. You solemnly swear the evidence you're about to give before this board shall be the entire truth?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and spell your last name
Sure. Michael Roth from Roth Engineering, last name spelled R-O-T-H.
and your professional address.
10 Main Street, Chester, New Jersey.
Thank you.
793.
Mike, may you please take the board through your qualifications and experience?
Sure. I've designed and managed several projects throughout the state, just like the one I'll be going over tonight. I graduated with a bachelor's degree of science in civil engineering from NJIT. Licensed PE in the state. My license is in good standing. I've appeared before over 60 different land use boards throughout the state, including this board, on the same property, different project, which we briefly discussed earlier a couple years ago. I look forward to presenting tonight.
Thank you. We're more than happy to accept you back as an expert in your field.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Before you get started, did you or somebody under your supervision prepare the plans that were submitted as part of this application?
Yes.
Please take the board through the existing conditions, and then you can continue with proposal.
Sure.
Thank you.
So the plan before you is the existing conditions aerial map. Got to mark this as A1.
Anyone, yes, please.
You have handouts as well. Be kind of pass that, I appreciate it. So A1 is the existing conditions aerial map. dated May 19, 2026. What you see here is an aerial map in the background from April 8, 2026. The subject property is outlined in red. The subject property is lot 10 of block 48. The property has an area of 2.6 acres and is located in the borough's R1 single-family residence zone district. The property is a corner lot. Academy Street is to the west, Oakland Avenue is to the north. The property contains a building that is used for ACS, American Christian School. The building is set back 37.5 feet from the Academy Street front property line and 170.9 feet from the Oakland Avenue front property line, which complies with the minimum 35-foot requirement for the R1 zone. The conditional use front yard setback requirement for a school is 75 feet, therefore the Academy Street is actually pre-existing non-conforming. The building is set back 50.8 feet from the south side lot line, which complies with the minimum 10-foot requirement for the R1 zone and 25-foot requirement with the conditional use standard for a church, for a school. The building is set back 68.6 feet to the rear east side lot line, which complies with both the 50-foot minimum requirement for the R1 zone and 50-foot requirement for the conditional use of the school. The maximum height of the existing building is 48 feet, based on the southwestern peak, which is the maximum high point of the building. Again, that's another pre-existing non-conforming condition, as the maximum permitted height is 35 feet. The gross floor area is also pre-existing non-conforming at 24%, and the maximum permitted is 20% for the conditional use standard. The traffic pattern for the school's pickup and drop-off is a one-way with vehicles entering from Oakland Avenue. There are driveways running adjacent to the building and then exiting to the west using the existing driveway. The property has an impervious coverage of 60.7%, which is pre-existing non-conforming, as the maximum impervious permitted is 25% for the R1 zone and 50% for the conditional use standard of the school. So that's a brief summary of the existing conditions. I'm now going to flip to the second sheet, talk about proposed conditions. I'll mark this as A2.
Yes,
This exhibit is entitled Site Plan Rendering, the same date, May 19, 2026. Again, we have an aerial map in the background. The proposed improvements are rendered in color on this sheet. The project proposes to expand the school, provide for the new gymnasium, which is shaded in brown. The proposed addition is set back 43 feet from the Academy Street front lot line, which complies with the R1 setback for 35 feet, but does not comply with the conditional use setback of 75 feet, therefore a variance is requested. The addition is set back 81.3 feet to the Oakland Avenue front lot line, which complies with both standards, the R1 zone and the conditional use standard. And there are no changes to the setbacks to the south side lot line and the rear east lot line, which complies with both setback requirements. The height of the proposed expansion, measured from the finished floor to the high point, is 40.9 feet as shown on the architectural plans. That existing southwestern peak that I mentioned earlier and existing conditions remains the overall high point of the building. However, we are still seeking a variance for maximum building height. The addition increases the gross floor area to 36%, which exceeds the maximum 20% requirement. Therefore, we are requesting variance relief for gross floor area. Next, regarding parking, the project proposes a new parking layout for the northeastern lot with new driveway opening onto Oakland Avenue. The new northeastern parking lot is shaded in gray in this area, which provides for 50 parking spaces, including 3 handicap spaces and 2 electric vehicle charging spaces to comply with the EV charging space requirement. The parking for the entire property, total 67%, so it's a nice improvement from the existing condition, which is 55, so we go from 55 to 67. In terms of total parking, we still comply with the ordinance requirement, as the minimum requirement is 46 spaces, and the ordinance is based upon number of classrooms. You heard testimony from Ms. Brennan that the number of classrooms isn't changing. The proposed parking spaces comply with the ordinance requirements, as the spaces measure 9 feet by 18 feet adjacent to curb, and 9 feet by 20 feet for head-to-head parking. The proposed sidewalk adjacent to the parking is 6 feet wide, which allows for the 2 feet of overhang to equal a 4-foot wide pedestrian path, which was, that information was requested in the board planners review. We are requesting a variance for a minimum parking side yard setback. As along the eastern property line, we are 5 feet, and the minimum requirement is 12.5. That should be noted in the current conditions, it's also around 5 feet, so there's essentially no change to that pre-existing condition for parking setback. The traffic pattern for these schools pickup and drop off will remain a one-way, although that one lane that was to the north of the building will be closed off with the expansion. The traffic pattern for pickup and drop off will continue to be a one-way, as vehicles will enter from Oakland Avenue, make that view around the building and exit the same way as the existing conditions. The Academy Street curb opening will not change. We heard testimony regarding that there really is no need for bicycle parking based upon the type of school, therefore we're requesting a variance. The site has operated this way for several years, and there's currently no formal loading space. Based on the operations, we feel that there's no need for a formal loading space based upon how pickup and drop-off is done. Also, there's a very wide driveway to the east side of the building there where that function takes place. However, since there's no formal loading space, a variance is being requested. Next, for stormwater management, based on the site improvements, the project results in a proposed impervious coverage of 63%, which exceeds the 25% maximum requirement for the R1 zone and 50% requirement for the conditional use standard. Therefore, a variance is being requested. The project is not considered a major stormwater development under the state's rules and under the borough's ordinance. And we're actually only increasing impervious by only 2.3%. Most of the addition falls within where the existing driveway occurred, and we're also picking up some more green space by a better functioning parking lot. So it ends up being what I'll consider a minor 2.3% increase in impervious, which equates to 2,584 square feet. And to mitigate for that increase, we're proposing a stormwater drywell system where we're actually going to collect approximately 6,600 square feet of runoff and convey it to a stormwater drywell. This will provide for a benefit to the stormwater management for the site, as the amount of runoff that we're taking to the new drywell greatly exceeds that increase in impervious coverage. It's almost about 2.5 times that number. Next, regarding signage, we are proposing some new building-mounted signs that will be presented by Mr. Byrne, the architect. There was some variance relief associated with that, for the sign area and sign height. Next, regarding landscaping, we are proposing some new plantings with a mixture of shade trees and shrubs around the new parking lot, in addition to enhance the project. No trees are proposed to be taken down, and the project is proposing 8 new trees and 72 new shrubs. We comply with the parking area shade tree requirement, which is another request from the board planner, where we have a shaded area equal to 14.6%, which exceeds the minimum 10% requirement. In addition, regarding parking lot screening, we have an existing 6-foot high solid fence along the east side property line. which provides for screening for the parking, so we do comply with that requirement. Moving along for lighting, we are proposing some new lighting to provide adequate light levels for the site for public safety purposes, with 8 new building mounted lights and 10 new pole mounted lights with backside shields. The proposed pole mounted lights are 18 feet high, which exceeds the maximum 50-foot requirement, therefore we're requesting variance. The proposed building mounted lights are less than 15 feet, so they do comply with the height requirement. And per the board planner's recommendation, we'll update the light color to be a color temperature of 3,500 Kelvin. And lastly, regarding the outside agency approvals, we have approval from Morris County Planning Board that just came in on May 22nd, and Morris County Soil Conservation District for their February 19, 2026 approval. We've reviewed the board professionals' comments. I circulated a letter dated May 26 to address both reviews from the engineer and planner. I'd be happy to answer any questions. I'll turn it back over to counsel in case I missed anything there.
Thank you, Mike. No, I have no further questions for this witness, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Do our professionals have any questions for this witness?
I do have a couple questions. I know, Mike, thank you for going through. I'm not going to go through every single comment in the letter, as you have gone through most of them and you have stipulated that you have no problem with addressing all of them. One area that I didn't see touched upon is the location of the property as it relates to regulated areas. So I'm talking about flood hazard areas and freshwater wetlands. Can you comment on that and the applicable permits that may or may not be required for this project as it relates to those areas?
Sure. So there's no nearby or offsite wetlands on the property. There's no floodplain. The only impact that will require us to get a flood hazard permit is for the buffer, the stream buffer. So we'll obtain that permit.
So at this point, do you know which permit you would be required, and for the board's application, the body of water, both, Parks Lake and the stream that comes out of it, all have a 300-foot buffer, which is the highest buffer you can have in the state of New Jersey of Category 1 river, so it's the most restrictive area. But as he indicated, the property itself is not located in a flood hazard area.
Right, so that 300-foot repairing zone from Foxbrook does encroach slightly onto the property. It's in an area that has, been there for several years, so we qualify for a turn by registration, which will be submitted to the DEP, and we'll obtain that approval.
And just again, for the board's edification, in January of this year, the flood hazard area regulations were amended slightly. You may have heard some of this. There were changes in the flood hazard elevation, how you determine that, what the freeboard is, how many feet above it you have to design for. It greatly impacts houses that are in the flood hazard area. These properties that are just in the buffer, the changes to the regulations are not as significant, but as the engineer testified, this falls for permit by registration, which is one that essentially you apply to the DEP and certify that you meet all these conditions, and it's an automatic permit issuance. But it is then registered with the state, so then if there is an issue or a violation of that, they can go check on it, and they can go say, this is what you certified to, and this was what was built, and here's the difference. So there's kind of a mechanism there for checks and balances, which didn't necessarily exist in the past. Regarding the stormwater management system proposed, I do applaud that the system is designed larger than is required, because as the engineer mentioned, this is not a major development by state standards nor by the borough standards. And rather than just designing the system for the increase in impervious of this project, they're also compensating for some of the other areas on site. So overall, the impacts, we would hope to see would be an improvement in runoff from this property. My only concern is the overall depth of the system does exceed roughly, I believe, 12 feet in depth. To date, have test pits been done to?
No, we have, we haven't done any soil testing yet. If we do encounter any bedrock or groundwater, we'll adjust the system as required to be, shallower, but it might take a bigger footprint.
And going off that same comment, if you do have to design the system to be more shallow, do you have the room to increase it in order to still give us that same capacity? Because I do think that this is a huge benefit, and I don't want to see us lose that benefit, pending any soil investigation.
Yeah, there's a lot of area in the front yard there to expand the system. So on sheet 4-7, that rectangle there, even if for some reason we have to double the size, we have to. I'm sorry. So even if we need to double
He's
it,
got it, sorry.
in a certain case, we have the room to do that, so we can expand it.
Excellent. I know you touched on that the parking does meet the state EV rules, so those will be made-ready spots for EV parking, which is a requirement. As you know, you kind of get an offset in the number of parking spaces. You did touch on the parking a little bit, so again, can you just summarize what's the required parking for this site and how many are you proposing total, not just the expanded area of the site as a whole?
Sure. So the required parking for the ordinance is based on the number of classrooms, which triggers 46 spaces required. There's currently 55 spaces today, and we're proposing 67. So it's what we feel is a nice 12 space increase from the existing conditions, where in fact it's really, although as mentioned in testimony, perhaps a slight increase in students, the number of classrooms will stay the same, which is how the borough parking ordinances triggered.
And that 67 parking spaces proposed is inclusive of handicap spaces as well?
Correct, it includes the 3 handicap.
And that includes also the 2 EV spaces?
Correct, yes.
And does that include the credit for the EV, or is that without even taking it?
I actually didn't even take the credit for it, so it's
Okay,
even
so it's
slightly
67
better.
physical parking spaces, but you might get credit for 69 or so. Okay, great. Again, not gonna go through some of these more minor comments. I think both myself and the planner both noted that the flagpole is being removed on the plans, and just a recommendation to relocate that, because we do think that is a nice fixture to have outside the school. Any tree removal? I know you are proposing some additional new landscape features. I don't think any trees, proper trees are being proposed, some more low maintenance landscaping, but are any trees being removed for this addition?
No.
And the area that is being disturbed for the gymnasium, what exists there today? I think you said the driveway, and then what else?
It's mostly the driveway. There's a front yard lawn area as well, which will be reduced slightly based on the expansion, but it's mostly the existing driveway.
Okay. And then one other item I don't think you touched upon too much in the testimony was, in order to accommodate this addition, what impacts are there to the site grading? How does it exist today? How will it exist when it's proposed? Is it a slab, crawl-space basement? What do we have going on there? How much excavation do we think is coming out of there? Kind of touch on those elements of the construction of the project.
So in terms of the addition and the building construction, I'm going to defer that to Mr. Byrne. In terms of the site grading, we're pretty well maintaining the existing grades in the parking lot. As close as feasible, there's going to be some minor regrading for the handicap spaces, as those have to meet the minimum slope standards. And then as you get around the building, we'll be doing some regrading, again, to push the water away from the buildings. There was some runoff that drains that way, and with the expansion, we're going to have to regrade certain areas around the building.
Thank you. Are any retaining walls proposed?
No. I'm sorry, there is a retaining wall that supports the ramp on the west side of the building.
Okay, so it's not supporting the earthen attachments, it's to accommodate a ramp to the building for ADA access?
Correct.
For this proposed addition, the gymnasium, and I'm sure the architect will testify a little bit more about what's included in the actual addition, but I'm interested in what the impacts are to utilities, water and sewer, and if new or modified connections are going to be required, and what that might entail.
Yeah, as part of the construction document phase, we'll look into that if there's any upgrades required. So we're starting to get into that process, and the architect can talking about that.
So I just want to put out there that there might be an understanding that you may need an updated sewer connection permit from RBRSA. If the sewer needs to be upgraded, you would need to work with the water department and get water permits for any upgrades to the water service to the property. The frontage on Academy Street is a county road, so anything that you do on that end, which is not proposed at the moment, would require a county road opening permit. The work on Hoagland, which right now seems to be limited to adjusting the ingress and egress driveway a couple feet to the south, I believe it is.
Right.
That would require a road opening permit. As of now, that road has not been paved in the last 5 years, so there's no moratorium there, just for your own notes. And then my last set of comments relate to the lighting on site. So I think that this is another significant change for some of the neighbors that they might want to hear a little bit more about today. So is there site lighting today? Is there parking lot lighting? And there are requirements that parking lots do be lit. So, you know, the applicant can say, no, we don't want to do any of it, but then they have to ask for a variance for everything. And in, you know, the matter of public safety, we do want to have some lighting there, but can you comment on, you know, hours of that lighting? How does it go off? Is there safety lighting only at night? Those type of things that, you know, might impact the neighbors in the neighborhood as a whole, and, you know,
Sure.
what they might see when they look at the site at 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 p.m.
Yeah, so the pole mounted lights will be turned off when the school is closed.
Okay.
There's some building mounted lights which will be on for safety purposes, after hours. And as mentioned in testimony, the ending hours of the school are, you know, for sports events, the testimony was that it ends around 6 p.m. So these, which would be probably the most frequent event that occurs. So it's not gonna be the case where the lights are on at late hours of the night. You know, the pole mounted lights will only be on, as needed for the parking lot.
So for example, the headmaster testified, they have back to school night once a year, things like that. So those would probably be the only events that go into what I consider more the evening hours, and that the lights would be visible. And he did testify that backside shields are proposed on all the lighting where it's at the property lines, and that will help with the spillage onto neighboring properties, what they physically see. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
I think those are all my questions for now. I'm going to turn it over to Golda. Golda, do you have any questions for Mr. Roth?
I guess a question real quick, just as I physically can't see if there's an architect, there will be an architect testifying, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you for the thorough testimony. So one of my questions, you just did it on Sam, there'll be residential shield lighting. Because I know that we have a variance where the pole is 18 feet. It's supposed to be 15 feet within the R zone. It sounds like you're requesting it to stay 18 feet. Is there a reason it can't come down to 15 feet?
Yeah, we looked at that. It would result in adding more lights, potentially losing some parking, adding another island in the middle to support the parking that's back to back. When we looked at it, since the parking lot lighting is really going to be used only as needed and not frequently, we felt that the minor 3-foot variance we're asking from 15 to 18 was minor and based on how the site operates. Is why we're requesting variance. And you'll hear more testimony on that from our planner.
And the maximum peak height, just because I was looking at the plans, I just want to make sure I'm understanding this. So the civil plan said one thing, the architect plan said another thing. So the architect plans at 40.9 feet is this expansion, that's going to be the height?
So the ordinance measures building height from the average grade to the highest point of the building. So the architect plans represent just what it is for the addition from finished floor to the high point, which is 40.9 feet. However, that peak is actually lower than the existing high point. So the existing high point, when you consider the building height calculation for the ordinance, in proposed conditions is 47 feet. And that's all in the zoning table where I have the building height defined.
Okay. Just kind of getting to my report now. Can you explain I understand the one where people were math, and I had a photograph in my report kind of showing the stacking of the pickup drop off. Can you just explain what's happening to the curb cut just a little more clearly from my notes, along with the Academy? If it's being moved in any way?
Yeah, there's no change to that curb opening.
So with the addition, it's not blocking that?
Well, the northern driveway will no longer, the driveway that's directly adjacent north of the building will not be used anymore. But you're still going to be able to make that U around the building and then turn towards the west, towards the curb cut that's there today.
So just so I'm clear on this too, so when you pull in off of Academy Street as it exists today in the existing conditions, you can either go to the right and go all the way around the building and then get to the northern parking lot, which you can then exit onto Hoagland. Can you completely go around the building right now? Or is that only?
Yes.
Just going? So right now you can completely go around the building?
Yeah.
So in the proposed conditions, it will cut off that shortcut, we'll call it, and now in order to go around the building, you would actually need to leave the parking lot, go onto Hoagland Avenue, and come back onto Academy Street, is that correct?
Correct.
Golda, does that kind of clarify a little bit?
I think so, I might need to talk to you separately, explain this.
No problem.
We'll get it, I'll figure it out. And then my last question, I know that no bicycle parking is proposed, and I know the gym is not increasing capacity of students, but I do want to hear testimony if there's been like any examination of the site plan where there's like, even if it's just one bike rack, you know, this is kind of a bicycle oriented possible use for the school kids. Is there any way to get a bike rack to be placed anywhere just to encourage, you know, that type of use for school?
Not a problem. The applicant will be happy to include a bike rack.
Okay.
Any more questions, Golda, or should I turn it over to the board?
That's all.
Thank you. Any questions from the board members?
I have one. Can you tell me about where most of your people come from, your students?
That's a better question for the applicant.
Yeah, good.
Let me call back Ms. Brennan.
Yes, that'd be good if you're willing. Thank
The
you.
question from the board member is, where is the majority of students?
Yeah,
We're within like a half-hour radius.
a half an hour. So mostly none of your children are close enough to ride a bike.
No, I think a few are.
A few are?
We have 3 families, I think, in the borough itself.
Okay.
They just haven't.
Okay.
But they could.
Okay.
That's a good point.
Questions?
Did you ask if they're gonna have the form with, I'd like to make sure, I know you talked about stormwater.
The operations and maintenance manual, it is a comment in my letter, and the engineer in his response did already stipulate that they would have no problem having that, you know, recorded and maintained with the property. I did not go over that, as there were many comments here, but that was a good one to bring up, so maybe to get that on the record, just
Yeah.
explain that and what that means.
Yes, as a comment in your reporting, will comply and provide a operation maintenance manual that will be recorded in the property deed, and we'll send it to you first to review and provide the comments. Thank you.
I have a question. The ingress and egress on the proposed addition, coming in from Hoagland Avenue, if I was to cross the parking lot, and I might want you to do this with your pen on there, to get out of the parking lot now, off the property, you would go around the building, correct? It's very interesting how, you know, that little rounded circular area, and then it sort of butts up to this rectangular spot. It's very, it's awkward. Is there any way you could straighten that out so the cars can come around and just go straight out to the end?
Yeah, this
It's a
area,
little awkward.
yeah, so this area on the west side is a condition that we're not proposing to change. There's actually a little bit of a grade change in here from the sidewalk to the street. There's some walls in here. They operate this way now without any issues. So we're gonna continue to do that and make that one-way turning movement.
But now do they come, where the proposed addition is, there's actually a roadway or a parking lot that actually comes from the parking lot right now and goes straight out to Academy Street, right? So
Correct.
that's where most people probably travel coming in and out of the site.
Let me just pause. Do you mind just clarifying the pickup and drop off?
Yes, I
Just
just
for
want
the
the map.
record.
Yes, if you could go and like,
Let's-
trace
let's
your
do-
finger.
Let's do the existing
Yeah.
conditions.
Right.
So we're referring back to A1.
Okay, so people are coming in from Hoagland,
Mhm.
this is during the busy time, 45 minutes of the morning time. And they come through here, and they go around like this, and this is just the way to, this is how.
Okay, so they don't go straight through like
Not
alongside
in
the
the
building?
morning,
No,
not in the
okay.
morning, they don't do this. So we just, because we want the children in and out of this entrance, because that's where our offices are, to check them in and have somebody check them in. So this has always gotta be that. Now, right now, we stopped doing that at dismissal, we have a lot fewer cars, so we started having them come in at dismissal to pick up, and they stop here, and we let the kids out here, and they just go straight out.
Okay.
That's what we're saying we can get rid of.
Right, right.
We just did it, because there was fewer cars at dismissal, so many kids are doing other things, and we can do whatever. So now, dismissal will be the exact same thing, they'll get dismissed out here, they come around, they go like this.
Okay, so what I was
Yeah.
questioning is that, coming around the side building with the little round
This
side
way?
top area, is that an awkward spot to make, to
No, it
travel?
goes like, no, because you go like this, it doesn't feel awkward, and unfortunately, this portico, or whatever, that, the porch
Yeah.
is coming out, that's part of the 100-year-old part of the building. So that's why we're forced to go like this. It doesn't feel, like when you're driving it, you don't feel a
Okay.
curve.
It looks as the curve. and then
It looks really
it's
sharp here.
Sharp left, it's not, okay.
It really isn't, but I guess you're saying, if you came and walked around, you can see it's not, I would have
Okay,
designed it.
that's what I was concerned with.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, once again, we'll open the meeting to the public. Is there anyone here from the public that has a question for the engineer? Yes, sir.
Andrew, I have a question. So basically, you're saying it's like, this is like a one-way. You're coming in from Hoagland, and then you're pulling out through Academy. But from Academy, you can't go back.
People don't, but now this is for during pickup and dismissal. In the middle of the day, you have a car come in every once in a while, a parent might be coming in that way. There's no traffic.
But you could, from Academy, you could enter back in and drive around.
You wouldn't during dismissal or pickup though.
But there's a sign saying that you can or
No,
can't.
they just, it's passed out to the teachers and to the parents at the beginning of the school year, and they all see the traffic pattern, and it's what we do at all of our campuses. Because you can't put a sign, because cars have to come in, like even for fire and everything, so our parents are just trained at all campuses on egress and exit for pickup and drop off.
So what I'm seeing is you're increasing the parking spaces, but you're not increasing the parking lot itself. You're
Right.
actually making the parking spaces smaller. Because I went and I scaled it just now. So in other words, you did make more parking spaces, but it's actually smaller per car. And what I'm concerned, what Kim Rose was saying was, on that little curve part over there, can you get one car going this way, one car going that way at the same time?
Nobody ever comes that way. We could make that.
But there's no sign.
There is not. There's never been.
But what if I was to go one way and you're coming the other way?
Yeah,
It's
you
not
could put a
wide
sign right
enough.
there.
And I think what Kim Rose is trying to say, it should be widened where it's a straight shot.
I don't think you can widen it, because,
Well, I mean,
but I
I'm
think
just going by the
you
area
make it
itself.
one way, yeah.
Yeah.
He's safe there is what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm just saying that it should be probably widened itself somehow. I can't, by the area, it's a little hard to say. But like, again, the parking lot did not increase. You
It
just-
didn't, it was just so misorganized.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you increased, but you made the car spaces smaller.
So just to answer that, all the proposed parking spaces comply with the borough ordinance in terms of its size.
Okay.
So there's no undersized spaces, we're not requesting relief for a parking space that's too small. All the proposed spaces comply.
I understand, when I was just scaling it just right now, it just seems to be that the spots are smaller than what we have here now. So it's more congested, it's a little hard to go from the front, like Kim Rose is trying to say, without a sign, I could go there. Now, how are we gonna determine who goes first?
So if I may jump in real quick, I think the suggestion from the member of the public is that additional signage be reviewed to be added, potentially specifically in that area where it's narrow, even either designating it as one-way traffic and or having other signs that have yield on one side so you can make sure that someone is coming. I think that's, a positive suggestion in that area, and I think it goes to Member Rose's comments as well. Do you think those modifications can be accommodated?
Yes.
Okay, yes, sir. Again, your name again.
Paul Wilson, 89 Academy Street. My question is, got several questions, but I'll answer one at a time. Where is the stormwater going to go?
So it's a stormwater drywell system, so it's gonna go, it's gonna get collected in inlets and piped to its drywall and go, into the ground. And in the case that there's a high intensity storm event where it's can't handle the capacity, it would overflow and follow the same drainage pattern that it does today.
So where is that underground storage?
Under the lawn.
Correct, it's underground in the lawn area, just north of the addition.
It's not on your map.
It's on the site plan, yeah. This rendering is just more so that.
Mr. Roth, do you think you could point it out on the
Sure.
proposed conditions then? So you are correct, it is not shown on this exhibit, but it is incorporated into their detailed plan, so he can show you the location.
It's right in this general area here, to the north of the addition, and it's underground.
Mr. Roth, am I correct that it's between the building and is that playground features on the left, some sort of jungle gym or something similar to that?
Correct, yeah, that's the correct general location.
I'll sit down for a minute.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I have a question. Priscilla DeMasi, 99 Academy. What is the total number of variances that are being requested of this board for this project?
Yeah, we're gonna have an expert planner testify shortly, and they're gonna cover all the variances.
I was asking just the total.
I don't have that number right in front of me, but our planner will quantify it. I think we knocked down one because we agreed to the bicycle parking.
Okay, so that question will get answered this evening?
Yes,
Okay.
I believe it's seven. but I'm gonna
As
check
long
this.
as the planner has time to specify this evening.
I don't know how late we going. I don't think any of us are leaving yet. Another question. Was any thought given to this structure blocking the view when you're trying to make a left onto Academy? That left is exceptionally difficult now as it is. And there's no structure blocking it.
Yeah, so, and if you like, you can add a site triangle, but when you're making that train movement based upon the existing road geometry, your site triangle isn't, or the addition doesn't impact that site triangle. So that's a great comment, we appreciate it, and we could add the site triangle if required.
I think it would be beneficial just to document that, given that that is a difficult term to make, that documents it, that it's clear. And also I would add, just looking at that, the exhibit that we have in front of us, it does look like there might be some vegetation in that site triangle, so there might be some means to maybe do a little landscape improvements if you need to clear that triangle to get a better, left-hand turn from that area.
Yes, sir.
Jeff Nemechek, 15 Oakland Avenue. Just wanted to check, by the way, if you going on Hoagland, I have a question. If you're going on Hoagland, what comes to your left is very difficult to see because the applicants trace a blind spot. It's extremely difficult to make any turn, whether you're going right or left. Just a point of information. Okay, so maybe somebody can do something about that. Because right now, the anchor fence creates a blind spot for drivers. I've gone down.
Okay, so I think that's something for your testimony.
Yeah,
You're questioning him
No,
about.
I just wanted to, I'm just reacting to what you just said. So
Okay.
I have questions for the individual
The answer is they haven't done any site studies on the intersection.
Okay. The existing buildings, so there's 2.6 acre site, right? So what, when you look at just the existing buildings now, what percent do they consider, just the surface area? What is the percentage of that 2.6 acres that they occupy?
So in existing conditions, the building coverage, which again is just the, like you said, the surface area, or I'm not considering gross floor area, just the surface area is about 14% in existing conditions.
How much?
14%, and we're going up to approximately 25% in proposed conditions.
Okay. Given the site as it's proposed, is there room for more buildings on that site for future? Or is the site pretty much maxed out in your view, your professional opinion?
I'll defer that to Mr. Byrne, the architect.
In your view, for schools, is this proportion of 25% buildings and 75% non-buildings fairly consistent with other school facilities that you're familiar with, or is it too much or too little, one way or the other?
Can you repeat that one more time? I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay, so for other school buildings, you may be, school buildings you may be familiar with professionally, is this proportion where it's 25% building and 75% non-building more or less normal, or is it too little or too much?
I mean, I haven't done a study of various schools in the area, so I can't answer that question.
Okay. You agree that there's no room for track and field on the site under the proposal?
I'm sorry, there's no.
Would you agree that there's no room for track and field?
Correct, yeah, it sounds like they go off-site for that kind of space for soccer and things of that nature.
All right. Okay. I guess that's it for now.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I have a question going back a little further. Right now, the oldest children are 12 years old?
No, this goes through high school, 12th grade.
12th grade.
So probably 17, some 18 if they're older.
And how many children do you have now that are in the high school zone, in high school age?
About 75.
75. Okay. Because high school children, as I know, having had many, drive a lot more cars than before that. Is that, can somebody tell me, is the number of parking lots here appropriate for a lot of high school kids?
Yes, they've determined the number of spaces per high school student. There's a formula that we had to have. And we do, I believe, have at least 8 students, I believe, right now who drive.
But you don't, is that formula based on being high school kids or based on first grade through or?
Yeah, I don't know if it's
This
on
gentleman needs to answer for you.
Yeah, the ordinance requirement for schools is based upon different levels. Intermediate is 2 spaces per classroom, and then high school is 4.5 spaces per classroom. So they have 7 each, and again, this is all in the zoning table on sheet 1 of the site plans. So the total required parking equates to 4 to 6.
So is the borough then required to say you cannot have more than so many high school kids? Based on parking?
Now, I mean, we have plenty of parking for the school's operation.
That's not my question. My question is, if there's a requirement that you have so many parking spots for high school students, will the borough be required to monitor that, to make sure that happens?
If we did not have enough parking, we would have to come before this board for variance relief, if I'm understanding your question correctly.
So will the school then say, you cannot come to my senior year of high school until we get a variance?
It's based on classrooms. So if for some reason there was a big uptake in number of classrooms.
I thought you said based on students.
Now, the parking requirement for the borough ordinance is based on number of classrooms. So if there's a big change in number of classrooms, and for some reason we didn't meet the parking requirement, we would have to come back. But as Ms. Brennan spoke in testimony, based on the type of school, their core values and their goal, they like to keep it, they want to keep it small.
I know they want,
And
they want to
there's
keep
only,
it
and
small.
they're not increasing the number of classrooms.
Just for the information, I'm the one that complained about noise, okay? Why? Because I'm 82 years old. My wife is 81 years old. That noise would not allow us to rest or sleep or whatever, and sent us to the hospital. If you can't abide by some rules and regulations later, what are you gonna do about it? If you try to increase things that you're now saying you're gonna need, who's gonna monitor it to make sure? I have to call the police, but I can't call the police and say you got too many classrooms.
It would be a zoning enforcement issue, what you're talking about. If it wasn't a complaint with the police department for the noise, the person who would oversee these approvals would be the zoning officer in the borough, might be the construction officer.
I'm very concerned because I got tired of telling the police chief. He gave me his private telephone number so that I could call him at any time, day or night, because I had to go through the normal method, and it got to be unbearable. So, it's one thing to say you're gonna do it, it's another thing to say, to actually do it. Right? So, let's prevent that from happening beforehand, somehow or another, please.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Back again.
Yeah, Angela with that. So if you're saying zoning, I have to agree with you. So like, I'm trying to get in touch with the zoning officer, the administrator, it's 12 days, nothing has ever been accomplished. So shouldn't it be like if he has an issue where, what do you call?
Questions of the witness.
Yeah, this is.
Oh, yeah, I'm saying that, what do you call, like, she's saying that, what do you call it, you have to address it to the zoning officer. But now, like in my incident, a different thing, it's 12 days, the zoning officer or the town or the police haven't got back into it. So, I mean, she's saying zoning officer, I mean, we have to look at where, what do you call, the officers or the zoning officer are stepping up to it. You know, we're not trying to sell a product that's, you're saying it's gonna work, but it's not gonna work.
That's kind of a question that the applicant can't answer, right?
No, but the town can, and so far it's been 12 days.
At this point, you'll be given an opportunity later to say whatever you want to say. But right now, you're supposed to be asking questions based on the testimony you just heard.
Okay.
I'm glad that tomorrow we're having voting.
Yes, ma'am.
I have one more question. So, it was in relation to the track and field question, I think. So will the school continue to use Park Lake for track and field like they're doing now?
You mean for practice? They run around the
Yeah, they come over and they have like PE in at the lake, and they, you know, they have, you know, pretty much.
Not during the day, but after school, yes.
No, it's during the day. They have it during the day. Sometimes it's twice.
Track, okay. Track and field is always held after school.
Oh, well, maybe it's gym class. I don't know.
Okay,
There
okay,
are
sorry.
students out, you know, running, you know, with the PE teacher, having them run around and time them, you know, like your typical gym teacher does.
Okay.
You know, words of encouragement.
Yeah.
So will that continue?
He just did that for the Presidential Fitness Award. Yeah, and so yes, I think periodically they would do that. But it's not regular, but yeah.
Okay.
Unless somebody didn't have a problem with it. I don't know.
I'll
We
see
can
you
talk
later.
Yeah, okay.
Other questions? Seeing none, we close the meeting in public, and thank you for your questions again, and thank you for your testimony.
Mr. Chairman, we are up to our third witness this evening, and it is our project architect. Bill, when you're ready, please state your name and spell your last name for the record, and then counsel will swear you in.
Sure. William Eyr, last name B-Y-R-N-E.
Would you stand for a moment, please, and raise your right hand? You solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give before this board shall be the entire truth?
I do.
You've already identified yourself. Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you, Bill. Can you please take the board through your qualifications and experience?
Sure, I'm a licensed architect in the state of New Jersey. I've been licensed for 32 years. Graduate of Seton Hall University. Been accepted before boards throughout the state, Morris County, other counties in the state as an expert in field of architecture.
Thank you. We're more than happy to accept you as an expert in your field.
Thank you. Bill, you or somebody under your supervision at the firm prepared the plans that were submitted as part of this application, is that correct?
That is correct.
Please take the board through your design.
Sure. What we have here is sheet 2 of our submission. This is unchanged, unrevised. And this plan represents the floor plan of the building and the proposed addition. What we're adding to the building is that okay? All right, perfect. What we're adding to the building essentially runs alongside the current auditorium and extends approximately 110 feet toward the side. And essentially it's to accommodate a basketball court. The basketball court itself is approximately 60 by 110 feet, and we have some ancillary areas to that basketball court. Obviously, a sports court, a basketball court can be used for other functions, volleyball, things of this nature. Coincidentally, the school is currently using the Dover Sportsplex, which was a project that I was also the project architect for. So we do have some experience with sports courts of different functions. We've got an area along the side for bleachers. Those would be movable bleachers, so they can accommodate spectators and parents and folks that want to come and enjoy a game. Walking through the function of this space, we've got the parking area exists along the high side here, the top of the page. We've got the main entrance to the gymnasium section of the building through these double doors and a covered entranceway into a foyer area with a little concession area directly straight ahead. Guests would enter into the gymnasium and circulate around the perimeter as is pretty standard. Again, the bleachers running along the left side. And again, based on the multiple functions of the building, we also have a stage area that would exist toward the right side. This way, if there's different functions at the school plays, things like that, we would have an elevated stage area that can be used for that. And then coming around to the bottom of the sheet, we've got a corridor that would extend and take us into the existing school, and we've got lavatories here for convenience. So we would be adding 2 additional lavatories. This way, if guests and spectators are here watching the game, we would have some convenient facilities for them, and then a few random storage areas throughout, just for different functions, volleyball nets, things like that, when they're not being used. Turning to the exterior, we found the building to be very interesting. The school itself, and I think as Ms. Brennan referenced, the 100-year-old portion of the school, it is really quite striking, to me iconic. I actually went to Morris Hills High School, so although I'm not from Rockaway, from Morton, I am very familiar with the area and spent my youth here. But to me, the original school building is just iconic. There were some beautiful details in that brick section, and I think to a great degree that's really to be celebrated, and that's what we tried to do with respect to this design. So if we're to look at basically the front elevation, what we see here is the existing brick portion of the auditorium, which was added at some point. It currently has a flat roof with some equipment on top, and we do have doors here that go into this space. So what we looked to do to try to enhance the look of that was to create a pitched roof over that section. There has been some maintenance issues over the years with that flat roof, and the goal was to try to eliminate that. So we've added a new roof detail over that existing gymnasium to cap that area, and we also have added a little bit of a covered porch roof to try to break some of the massing of that wall that exists today. Currently, it's just a flat wall with a flat roof, not terribly attractive. And then as we come to the side, we have a double entrance door here, which is an egress
a pair of egress doors to take us from that corridor. If you were to go inside those doors, the bathrooms are basically in that location. And so that section of the building actually drops down in height to try to create a little bit more articulation and to try to break up that massing. And then we come to the actual sports court of the gymnasium itself, and that is this higher section that we see here. Again, a matching brick. We've got details in these arched window treatments that are pulled from that 100-year-old section. So it's a very interesting detail with the soldier course of the arch that comes down on both sides and a brick sill detail, again, consistent with that 100-year-old section. We tried to break up the roof lines while still clear spanning trusses to make it efficient and economical. But again, to try to capture and try to use as inspiration that original part of the building. To really what we look to do here. When we come around to the side elevation, we see again the idea that we've got that higher gymnasium section in the background while we have some lower sections of roof that would project slightly above and a little bit forward. Again, a few details here that replicate those arch top windows. This is the area where the bleachers would be located. So again, having lower windows here is not practical, but we look toward a detail that would include some closed shutters and to give the impression that these were much taller windows to try to pick up on the look on the side. This is the elevation where we do include a sign, a proposed sign that would be a lettered sign, ground mounted lighting that would illuminate that, and it would break up that brick wall. That sign location is roughly centered on this elevation. The heights are dimensioned here, but it includes a width of about 13 foot 10 inches from end to end of the lettering, and we have a height of 7 foot 8 inches. And again, while that is considered a sign area, the sign letters are on the brick wall. So, taking a conservative stance, the engineer had indicated the size of that sign at, I believe, 116 square feet, but in practicality, the lettering itself only makes up a small proportion of that, maybe 25%. Coming around to the parking lot side, what we see here is the main entrance, as we talked about. There's some fixed doors and some operable doors in the center, so that would be the entrance that would be the primary focus for guests that would come into a sporting event or into the gym. And we've also added a sign above that door that indicates that that would be the entrance to the gymnasium. That sign is about 24 inches in height by 11 foot in width. And again, that's really a designation sign to try to, a directive sign to direct parents or people that aren't familiar with the gym's location. Again, window details to sort of mirror the opposite side of that gym. And we do have another exit door here that would come out toward the parking lot.
Thank you, Bill. I have no further questions for this witness, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Professionals.
Sure. I'm gonna ask a couple of questions and then date back to some earlier questions we had. First, of the building construction itself, what type of footing foundation system is proposed underneath this gymnasium? Is there special requirements for gymnasiums that need to be met?
So the proposed building would be constructed on a slab. There's no real need for a basement or any area below that. So it would be a slab on grade, and I think as our engineer had testified, the building slab is going to be generally at the current grade condition. There's not a tremendous amount of grading that needs to take place based on that. There's no specific design loads. There's no excessive point loads or anything of that nature that we would have to consider specific soil conditions at that height. So we wouldn't anticipate it being anything unusual.
Thank you. And you might have hit on this with your first sheet of your exhibit, but can you just walk us through how exactly this connects to the existing building, like how you would get there, what the passageway is, and where that kind of entry, where the two parts join?
Sure. The existing auditorium is shown in this rectangle. And the main corridor.
I'm sorry to cut you off. So the existing auditorium is that small rectangle that we're looking out there?
Correct.
That's the space that's currently used for PE, SG, okay.
That's
So this is a significant enlargement on that space, is that correct?
That is correct, that is correct. Presently, there's a main corridor system through the building in a sense that forms a cross. There's a corridor that runs front to back, and then there's one that runs side to side. So there's a main corridor that comes through here to these doors into an exit, they call it an exit access corridor. There's a stairway here. And so these doors exist today, and they would go to the exterior. And so those doors will now become interior doors and create that interior connecting corridor that runs down to the front and across and into the gymnasium on the low side. And then there's a stairway that takes you up to the second floor with a landing at this location. And we're also proposing an extension of that landing and a few steps down to get to the front, main front entranceway. But the main student entrance would come through the existing corridor to the front and into the gym.
Now, if you were coming as a visitor or a spectator for a sporting event, where would you park and how would you enter?
So the parking is again here on the high side, and these double doors would be the entrance to the gym, and that was the purpose of us indicating by signage that that would be the gymnasium.
So any ticket sales, anything like that would be in that area to the north?
Right, there would be a counter proposed here, so if someone came in and wished to purchase a ticket for an event or be directed, that would happen here.
And that access from the rear parking lot is the ADA accessible entrance, because I believe the ADA parking spaces are just to the north of that, is that correct?
That is correct, this would be the ADA compliant entrance.
Great. There was a question earlier from a resident, so I wanted to ask your opinion on that. Potentially in the future, could you see this part of the building expanding, or does this layout, how it exists today, kind of cut off other options, or what is your professional opinion on the potential to expand beyond what is proposed today in the future, should that ever come up?
The function of what happens here at this end, I think creates its own culmination to further expansion. If there was a reason to expand this part of the school, meaning something further in this auditorium area, potentially it could allow an expansion, but this would certainly terminate the likely ability to get more classrooms or things of that nature over here.
Okay, so your opinion, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that you could expand the gym facility from this area, but you wouldn't necessarily add classrooms or learning areas because it would be awfully disconnected to the rest of the building?
I would say from an architectural standpoint, that's accurate, yes.
Okay. I think those are all my questions related to architecture. Paul, did you have questions for the architect? Turn up your volume slightly.
Yeah, if you could just clarify, just because I can't see the signage proposed, is that like backlit, is that just like metal letters, what is the signage, like what are the materials?
The sign that indicates American Christian School is a channel letter, but it's not backlit. It's just a wall-mounted channel letter sign. It's going to be ground lit. We're going to have some ground-mounted lighting that shines up on that sign to illuminate it.
And what about the second signage on the access doors?
So the gymnasium sign, we wouldn't have the ability to ground light. It's the similar type of lettering. It's a channel lettering, but we're going to do gooseneck lighting. So it would provide a shield because of the gooseneck nature of the lighting that would allow us to wall mount those light fixtures that would shine down onto that sign. And that's a fairly standard traditional way of illuminating signage in a more historic fashion.
So there's a ground sign being proposed now?
No. There's ground mounted lighting for uplighting on the signage of the building.
And those are, like of residential lighting levels, we're talking minimal?
Correct.
Would those be lit all the time? Do those only be on the same hours the school is on? Or I think the headmaster might want to comment on that if you don't know the answer. The lighting.
The headmaster indicated maybe it would be on a timer and probably coincide with maybe the parking lot lighting.
So be around the signage?
Yeah. Are there any other questions for the architect?
And then with the, okay, I guess one last question. With the roof pitch, is that going to change any type of, anything to the drainage at all?
The flat roof that exists there today has typical scuppers and drainage to the perimeter, and the pitched tip roof that we're gonna replace it with is going to have a gutter system. So no, it wouldn't change the pattern of drainage in any way.
So in both existing and proposed conditions, the water sheets to the outside and then flows down through roof leader drains down to its ultimate destination, in this case, which would be toward the new stormwater system.
That's correct.
Thank you. Anything else, Cliff?
And the massing, in your opinion, would be that of the relative size to the land and consistency with the neighborhood? Even though we have a front yard encroachment with the setback there, and just overall, in your opinion, the design is designed to mitigate any kind of perceived massing, since we do have a floor area ratio variance?
We were quite careful in the design of this structure to try to break down the massing into much more appropriate scaled elements through both the balance of the windows as well as the breaking of the roof lines. Obviously, the main gymnasium has a very large roof line, but I think it's pretty clear in these elevation drawings that that is well blended with what we would like to think of as the more architectural portions of the building. And I do feel the scale of this is very much in keeping with the current building. I think it's quite an improvement, in part because I think it's hiding the newer addition, the vinyl siding addition that we see hinted at there. I think this really creates something of a more holistic look to the better parts of the building, and I do think it blends nicely with the neighborhood based on what we've done to try to minimize the massing.
Okay, thank you, I have no other questions.
Any questions from the board members?
I can't get this for, oh, it's workers. The question, now you're gonna remove the flat roof, right, and put a peak roof. On top of that flat roof right now is the HVAC units. Where are they gonna go?
So our goal would be to keep them within that new attic area.
So they're gonna be mounted on the peak roof.
No, they'll be on the flat roof now. We're not gonna raise them up and put them on the outer roof. No, they'll stay where they are now. We just have to put
But so that peak roof is just in the front, not the whole roof?
the peak roof would cover the whole flat roofed area, but that roof mounted equipment sits down a little bit lower. There's a parapet that goes around the flat roof, and so the peak roof would essentially create an attic, and those units would exist within an attic space.
All right, thank you.
I have a question about the architect. I'm sorry, the other gentleman attested to the height of the building. And the highest part of the building right now is the old bell tower from when it was the Parkwood School. Is there any changes? Right now it's just, the bell's not there anymore. It's at the Rockaway Borough Historical Committee. So there's nothing in there. Is there some attempt to, I don't know, put louvers, or I can't figure out which one of these peaks is that, just so that it doesn't look like it's something that's abandoned, to be more in common with the nature of the new structure. Since you're going to all this trouble to match the bricks and everything, it might be nice to have something better than a plain old white plywood there.
That portion of the building is cut off just based on the size and the scale.
And that's why I'm asking, because I'm looking at the photo that was in the packet, and you can see it in the photo, that it's just white and it's boarded up because there's no longer a bell there.
Right, make it look more attractive.
Exactly.
We've sort of used that as inspiration for some of the cupola details that you see here, and I think it would be reasonable to maybe renovate that bell tower to try to replicate this details and create a little bit more consistency.
Thank you.
Good suggestion.
Any other questions from the board?
I have a question for the headmaster. I should have asked earlier, but I just, as everyone was going through the uses of the building, the part of the building now that was described as the auditorium, what are you going to use that for? If you get the
For
new
the
gym?
kids to eat in.
Oh, it's going to be a cafeteria? Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? I do have a question. You gave us what the overall square footage was for the sign on the side. What percentage of that is of that facade? Roughly. I think that's what our zoning is, percentage of coverage.
6 square feet overall as a percentage. Unfortunately, I didn't calculate that exact number. It appears
Is it
to
a
be-
significant percentage or?
No, it's not.
It's a fairly large facade, so,
It is, just visually, I'd say it's less than 10%.
very good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Board? Seeing none, once again, the public? Whichever one wants to go first.
Jeffrey Manachek, 15 Hogan Avenue. Going back to some prior questions, is there, looking at this site, this diagram, is there room for more building on this site in your opinion? Is it maxed out pretty much?
It would seem like it would be, given the parking, given the driveway circulation, it would, potentially if there was other redesigns to some of those functions, maybe, but it seems like it's pretty well maxed out, yes.
Okay. And then, so, we've got a 25% from a prior testimony. The building is 25% of the overall square footage. How does that compare, in your opinion, your professional opinion, to other schools that you may have dealt with or know about? Is that too much, too little, about right? Or is it just kind of a question you can't answer?
I think that would be a fairly difficult question to answer because you consider that, again, I'll mention Morris Hills High School, which I'm familiar with, it's obviously in town. There were such significant football and soccer fields and other things, there was so much land there that was used for outdoor facilities. That percentage in that school was likely less. I know it's been expanded since, but I have a feeling it's still less. But, other elementary schools that I'm familiar with, in different towns, I would say that number is probably, not too different. I know Chester Borough's elementary school probably has a similar number to that. Randolph, I'm familiar with two school projects in Randolph, I would say again, similar numbers to that.
For elementary schools, not so much high schools.
Yeah, high schools, generally speaking, again, having done Morris Hills, playing in Randolph in different towns, high schools tend to be much, much larger than this school, right? This school is probably more the scale of an elementary school, and they tend to include areas for football, for baseball fields, and I think just probably when most of these schools were built, land was a little more available than what it is today.
Right, okay. And, okay, I guess that's it for me.
Is you finished?
That's it for me. For this particular witness. I'm done with.
Oh, okay, thank you. Next, then.
Thank you.
I got some other comments here that I hope you allow me to do.
You have some questions, you might?
Questions?
Question, are you aware that corner, Hoagland and Academy Street, has been marked by the borough police as one of the most dangerous corners in the borough? And what would you do about that?
Did you know that?
I know that because I was down there and they have all the accidents marked on their map, right there.
But your question is, are they aware of that fact, of that information?
Yeah, are they aware of that? And we have personally seen
Well,
2 or 3 accidents a year.
Now you're giving testimony, sir, you're not asking a question.
Okay.
I'm not aware of that.
Next.
I have another question
Oh,
too.
good.
All right. Are you aware of the rock structure under here? We dug a basement in this area, and this is actually the top of a mountain with all the slate and with the rock structures. What do you call the rocks that come out of the mountain?
Bedrock.
Bedrock, yeah. So that the rock structure itself is not what you're going to expect.
They're not digging. They're not digging.
We're not proposing a basement, so it's
You don't understand. It's not this, the reason we have problems
He
with
answered.
sound.
He answered. Next question.
Okay.
They haven't done any sort of testing, you heard that testimony.
We haven't done any tests to see how sound travels through the rock structure in and around your building. Or have you done any acoustic, either air or sound around the building as it exists today? Have you done any studies of that nature at all?
We have not, but I will mention that part of the consideration of the design of this building was that we were going to include a brick veneer, which the brick is dense and it surrounds the entire gymnasium and the entire addition. Brick is then really considered to be acoustically a very positive means by which attenuating sound. So we feel like if there is any concerns of sound, what we've done through the architectural design of this building, we I think have done a proper job of mitigating the sound issues and transfer outside the building.
You haven't done it then? You haven't done it?
What you're suggesting is a sound attenuation model of the proposed building, and no, we have not done
Study
that.
the sound going through the rock structure below the current building and the proposed building.
No, we have not done that.
Yes, sir.
Angelo in town. Question, fire trucks itself. Academy Street, will a fire truck be able to go from Academy Street in through there? Because it's more narrow in the front itself.
Yeah. We met, Mr. Chairman, Ms. Brennan is able to answer that question because she has dealt directly with, is it fire marshal in the borough?
Right, he's reviewed everything we have, and reviewed it with the different experts we have, and he's comfortable with everything.
Okay, like I said, because it just looks more narrow in the front itself.
Right, no, and he's, he's reviewed it a couple times,
To help
including
with
last
that,
week.
perhaps the engineer can give us, what's the pavement width in front of the building? Because you look at it, you go, oh, that must be 10 feet wide, but I'm sure it's significantly more than that. It's probably in the neighborhood of 20 feet wide. It's hard to visualize when you look at a drawing, exactly how wide that pavement actually is.
So when you're on Academy Street, that existing driveway from Academy Street, that pavement is actually 50 feet wide. But as you turn and go parallel with the building, it's approximately 20 feet, it widens to about 24. That curve that someone mentioned is about 16 feet. As you continue to go around the building and make that U, the driveway does get significantly wider. Say ranges from ranges at the most at 55 feet to 30 feet.
So the narrowest place is roughly 18 feet wide, which is much wider than a fire truck.
Correct, yeah. And I was personally at that meeting that Ms. Brennan noted with Fire Marshal. As it's mentioned before, now there's, we're cutting off that one driveway, which is certainly reducing the building. However, based upon what he looked at, he felt comfortable that he could fight a fire with the existing driveways and what we're proposing.
Thank you. Any further questions, sir?
I would just look, if it was straighter, it would make it easier for the fire truck to get through. But I mean, this looks like Formula One racing, it's like right and left.
But you've been there, you've seen it.
Yeah, I'm just looking at this, how the wear of the pavement, how it's all worn out. It's like, it looks like he said 16 feet before, it's a little tight right there. Because when a truck's big and long, it depends,
And they testified that the fire marshal says it's sufficient for his fire apparatus. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, back to you, counsel. Counsel.
Mr. Chairman, our fourth and final witness tonight is our planner, Paul. Would you please
state your name and spell it for the record.
Yes, my name's Paul Wic, R-I-C-C-I.
You solemnly swear that the evidence you're about to give before this board shall be the entire truth.
I do.
Thank you, please be seated. And the spelling on the last, R-I-P-P-I?
Sorry, C-C.
Really? Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Paul, can you please provide the board with your qualifications and experience?
Yes, I'm a licensed professional planner since the year 2000. I have a master's degree in city and regional planning from Rutgers University, which I received in 1997. I'm currently a municipal planning consultant in 7 towns. I testify in front of boards fairly regularly. I've been qualified in over 250 towns throughout the state. My license is in good standing as well.
Thank you, more than happy to accept you as an expert in the field.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Paul, what did you review in preparation of your testimony this evening?
Sure. Visited the property, visited the site, architectural plans, pertinent sections of your zoning ordinance, your master plan, professional reviews, had various dialogue with the applicant, and based on that, I used that to formulate my opinion.
Please take the board through.
Sure. Again, I'll try not to be repetitive. We're in your residential 1 zone. We're an oversized lot, approximately 2.6 acres in your R1 zone, which anticipates as well single-family homes on 15,000 square foot lots. We are a conditionally permitted use. One of the reasons we are here this evening is that we do not meet all of those conditions. Does the board want me to repeat the variances that were indicated by Mr. Roth, our site engineer, that we're requesting this evening?
What's the sense of the board? No, yes?
Good.
We're good.
Okay, so the board has already heard from Mr. Roth in pretty nice detail regarding that. In terms of the variances that we are seeking D3 conditional use variances associated with increase in floor area ratio, which could be considered a D4 variance. We are exceeding your height in the D6 variance, but all these variances are different than your traditional D1 use variance, that we don't have to show that the site is particularly well suited for the use, the fact that schools are conditionally permitted, and that we don't have to reconcile the admission of this use from your master plan, the enhanced urban improvement. The relief for the conditional use variances, the height variance and the floor area ratio variance, they're all somewhat interrelated in the sense is that the focus is on, number one, is the site for conditional use remain an appropriate location for a school, despite the fact that we're requesting the conditional use variance. Also, in terms of the floor area ratio, the focus is on, can the site accommodate the problems with that increased floor area, despite not meeting all the requirements. And then in terms of the height, we'll show that the proposal sufficiently mitigates the concerns of the height limits, including excessive visual massing, incompatibility of scale and character, and impacts in light, air, and open space associated with the overall intensity as well. And some of that, on building upon the other witnesses that also provided some testimony, I heard Mr. Brennan, that talked about the existing building height, and the overall massing, and how really this building, in my opinion, has been harmoniously designed with significant detailing and arched windows and the like. Personally, I think it's rare as a planner, when I drive around towns and my kids went to school, to have a gymnasium that's not just a rectangle. That's what most schools have. Mr. Byrne somehow found a way to architecturally integrate the roof lines of this building and bring them all together in a cohesive manner. Hide portions of the building that arguably are the least tasteful, the vinyl siding, with new brick, and really brought it back to its initial design when it was built. And I think it potentially could predate, based on your sign here, the Borough of Rockaway, 1894, could predate the formation of the borough as well. So it's a site that's clearly been a school in some form for a number of years. In terms of the bulk variance relief, I think the board understands that we'll show that this application advances the purpose of the miscellaneous law, and the variances can be granted without a substantial detriment to the public good. The intent and purpose of your zone plan show that the benefits outweigh the detriments. I forgot to mention as part of relief, that all variances that we have to show that they can be granted without a substantial detriment to the public good, namely the surrounding property owners, without a substantial intent and detriment to your zoning plan. I did prepare a fairly detailed testimony in some regards, so I may rely on that a little bit more than I traditionally do, but I had some points that I wanted to get across. Overall, when I evaluated the site, this is clearly an existing 2.6 acre property. I felt that it remained an appropriate location for a school because it already is improved and is functioning as an established educational campus, again, over 100 years, with sufficient lot area, frontage, and site depth to accommodate school buildings, parking, circulation, and a continuation of outdoor activities. With the exception of the continuation of the non-conforming side yard that you heard from Mr. Roth, that is being pulled back further than the closest condition to the front yard. This site meets all the remaining required yards. In some instances, more than double in terms of the side yard, rear yard is well over the ordinance requirements as well. We are seeking the floor area ratio of 0.36, whereas 0.2% is permitted and 0.24% currently exists. And from my perspective, although this proposal increases the degree of deviation, the floor area ratio should be evaluated in light of the fact that the property is already improved with a functioning school campus that already exceeds the ordinance standard. And here we have a request that reflects the practical space needs associated with contemporary educational programming and building functionality rather than an attempt to overdevelop a vacant parcel of land. We heard from the schoolmaster that there will be no increase in staff associated with the improvements. Well, we don't have hard data. In our conversations, we know that the previous school had more students than currently exists. So in terms of an on-site population, that appears to be decreasing here over time as well. Again, because the expansion occurs on an existing institutional site and is tied to continuation of community serving use, the requested floor area ratio can be viewed as a logical and site-specific accommodation that does not alter the essential character of the property as an established school campus as well. Again, we heard from the site architect when we saw these exhibits that, again, we believe that the building massing is appropriate, is tasteful, and is achieving the purpose of integrating this use in a manner that will not be architecturally destructive. Actually, we believe it would be contrary to that. In terms of the impervious coverage, the same reasoning supports the requested impervious coverage relief. The proposal would result in 63% impervious coverage, which 50% is permitted and 60.7% presently exists. From a planning standpoint, the request is relatively modest and measured against the existing developed condition of the property, as the increase above the current condition is limited. I think we all recognize that school sites commonly require a substantial amount of buildable area, walkways, circulation space, and related site improvements in order to operate safely and efficiently. The requested impervious coverage is justified as an incremental intensification that is functionally necessary and not out of scale with the long-standing use of the site. We also heard from Mr. Roth that to mitigate that increase in impervious coverage, he's close to tripling the treatment of the stormwater that's required by ordinance, which I believe your board engineer has also recognized as a significant improvement as part of her testimony. In terms of the height variance, it's justified by the functional needs of the school, gymnasium, which require greater interior clear height than ordinary classroom space to accommodate physical education, athletics, assemblies, and related school programming. And again, I don't mean to be repetitive, but the request should also be reviewed in the context of the existing site, where the principal school building already exceeds the ordinance height limit. We heard from the site architect that indicated that the building would be lower than the highest point of the building today. That also promotes, the continuity of the building architecturally, which you can achieve by retaining that height as well. As such, the addition continues an established institutional building profile rather than introducing a new or unexpected vertical condition in this context. The proposed gymnasium also advances important public benefit by creating indoor recreational space. And this is something that the headmaster discussed that can serve both the school and the borough recreation needs as well. And that's something that I think could be worked out on an ongoing basis with the school and the like. But as a planner, I did review your last full master plan as well in 1995 that did address recreation and open space needs in the borough. And it did show a significant shortfall in terms of that. I think it was around 31 acres or so. And as a planner, a community planner as well, all boards don't make decisions on financial reasons, but to provide indoor recreation space, that's the most difficult to provide due to the cost associated with new buildings and the like. So there is a strong public benefit associated with that public space as well. Regarding the front yard setback, the applicant proposes a setback of 43 feet, where 56.2 feet is required, while the existing site presently reflects a setback of 37.5 feet. Although front yard setback relief remains necessary, the request should be viewed in context, again, of an already developed school campus where buildings and site improvements have long established the functional layout of the property. The proposed expansion is being accommodated within those existing site constraints and is designed as a continuation of the campus arrangement rather than as an isolated out-of-character encroachment into the front yard. From a planning standpoint, the reduced setback can therefore be justified because it allows the school to expand in a practical manner consistent with the organization of the existing development while not materially changing the visual character of the site or creating a substantially different relationship to the street than what already exists on the property today. Again, for these reasons, the arrangement being proposed by the applicant, I believe, is the best arrangement of the property. Regarding the parking side yard setback, you heard from Mr. Roth. This is largely an existing condition that's being reorganized in that area. He's making it more efficient. And my understanding, because of that reconfiguration, that existing condition requires variance relief. Here, it results in improved internal site circulation and parking layout while maintaining the functional operation of the campus. So, in this context, it results in improved zoning in the context of the property. Regarding the light fixture, somewhat of a modest increase being proposed. 18 feet is permitted, 15 feet is permissible. In this regard, it's mostly really a site design type arrangement. You heard from Mr. Roth again. In terms of the fixtures, to comply with the ordinance, it would require additional fixtures, would require the loss of parking, the creation of an additional internal landscape island. We believe the benefits and the ability to mitigate any off-track impacts associated with lighting, less lights are easier to control against adjacent properties, outweigh any significant detriment. I believe also the lighting plan is also reviewed by your engineer, so we can attest to the fact that there'll be no substantial light trespass on adjoining properties. For the reasons I mentioned, this application meets several purposes of municipal land use law. Purpose A, promotes the general welfare of the community. Purpose G, provides sufficient space and appropriate locations for educational and recreational uses. Purpose I, promote a desirable visual environment through good civic design and coordinated architectural treatment. And purpose M, to encourage the efficient use of land and the existing infrastructure by improving the established school campus in a manner that remains compatible with the surrounding area. Regarding the negative criteria, the requested relief is supportable because the proposal advances sound planning objectives associated with the borough's master plan, particularly those dealing with quality site design and the mitigation of development impacts. As shown and as we presented on the plans, The addition has been designed with architectural features intended to create a cohesive, visually attractive improvement that relates appropriately to the existing school building rather than presenting an incompatible or visually destructive expansion. The application includes landscaping enhancements and stormwater management improvements, both of which are important planning considerations because they soften the visual effect of the project and address drainage and runoff impacts in a responsible manner. These design and mitigation features demonstrate that the applicant has been conceived as a coordinated site improvement, not merely as an increase in building area. In my opinion, those factors weigh in favor of the application and support the conclusion that the requested variances can be granted without substantial detriment to the public good. It's overall my opinion that the requested relief can be supported from a planning perspective because the application advances a beneficial and long-established educational use in response to the practical constraints of an already developed site. The proposal does not present a fundamental change in use, but rather the continuation and improvement of an existing school function on the property that has long been devoted to that purpose. The architectural treatment of the addition, together with the proposed landscaping enhancement and stormwater management improvements, reduces potential impacts associated with the expansion. Looking very repetitive. When those mitigating features are considered in conjunction with the existing site conditions, it is my professional opinion that the benefits of the project outweigh any potential detriments. And for all these reasons, I believe that these variances can be granted without a substantial detriment to the public good in your zone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. No further questions of this witness, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Board professionals?
I have no questions for the planner, but I will turn it over to Golda, as I'm sure she has better planner comments.
Yeah, we have the planner questions.
And I just want to confirm, so the EV requirement was brought up in my memo, that is being eliminated, that variance.
Correct.
The bicycle parking that was brought up in my memo, that variance is being eliminated. And then I had a couple design waivers I needed to confirm. One was around the parking space, and that's because it overhangs into the sidewalk. But that ties with 9 by 18. Just want to confirm if that design waiver was still on the table, or is there a overhang being provided?
I believe the site engineer says that we comply with that requirement.
And the surface lot screening, I did hear him say that we will comply. What is that being screened with? Is it a solid, like, hedging with landscaping?
There's an existing opaque fence there, that's the screen.
When you say opaque, do you mean the chain link fence?
It's a white vinyl fence.
It's a what?
White vinyl fence.
White vinyl fence.
On the east side of the property,
Yes.
along the parking.
I thought you saw that along the parking.
Yes.
Around the rear. And then the surface lot, I believe the engineer said that there would be 16%, so that design waiver is not necessary. So the list of variances is the 18 feet picture, which is 3 feet over. My understanding is that it's more lighting to bring it more into conformance. And then really just these main big floor area ratio, and I would agree with this. This conditional use is a little interesting in that there's 3 big D variances between the height, floor area, and the conditional use standards, but they're all intertwined just in the standards of the conditional use. And the height is shorter than what is existing today, it's just a technicality of an addition that does exceed more than 10% of the zone. Otherwise, I believe you covered all the variances. I don't think I have any further questions at this point.
Thanks, Golda.
Thank you. Any board members have questions?
I would just like to make sure that when you're putting the lighting up, I understand the difference between the 15 feet and 18 feet. You have those box lightings where it does not go out on anybody else's property. It will not shine on any neighbor's property or go up and look. It will be absolutely captured only on the property.
Correct, yeah, and actually the board engineer's comment was to have backside shields on the lights that are adjacent to the neighbors, and we're going to comply.
because that's absolutely unnerving.
Mhm.
It's light rage.
Mhm.
It is, it's light rage.
Agreed.
Okay, thank you.
Board, any questions? Once again, public questions about what the planner has said?
I have a question. Priscilla DeMasi, 99 Academy Street. I'm just gonna revisit my first question about how many variances are requested for this project.
In total, there's 8.
Eight variances. And then you mentioned that you measured the detriment to the community. How is that measured?
Well, when you look at I think I'm in pretty good detail, but in terms of a site that's historically been here, that's operated at a higher intensity in terms of the number of on-site activity that today, and a project that meets all the existing setbacks that are anticipated here, with the exception of the front yard, but we're continuing an existing front yard in a manner that is further removed from the existing condition. The building is being placed in a manner where it was anticipated by the zoning.
Okay. Did you, as a planner, reach out to members of the community that live around the property?
I did
For
not.
consultation?
I did not know.
Do you know if anybody on the project did reach out to anyone in the community? The surrounding community, neighbors?
Anyone from the project, you mean this professional team?
Yes.
I'm not aware of anyone.
And then you mentioned that there's a public benefit to the recreation. I need to understand that because it's a private school. Can you
Okay.
explain that?
The headmaster, am I calling you the right
Yeah, that's
name?
right.
It feels weird.
The headmaster pointed out, and she's looking, I think it's pretty clear, to be a part of the community and to mitigate any issues, and she seems, I saw her talking to a resident before. I mean, the school wants to be a part of the community in a positive fashion. So when an indoor recreation space becomes available, that's something that maybe the borough can benefit overall as a community. And what I was saying as well is that I looked at the last time your master plan looked at recreation and open space needs, and at that time, that doesn't really dramatically change when you need that much more acreage. It showed a significant shortfall. And I know as a planner that has done recreation, as a community planner, has done recreation open space planning, I know when we look to make improvements to indoor space, it's the most difficult to make because it's the most expensive, because you gotta build a hard structure, right? I think it's pretty common sense, but, so it's the most difficult to provide, so that someone is willing to offer that space where the community would have to go out and construct it itself, is a tremendous opportunity. Of course, everything has to be done correctly, can't be done in a manner where it's gonna be creating noise to the neighbors, this and that. But the fact that space, that she's willing to provide that space, I think is a tremendous asset.
So then we're saying that there's gonna be additional uses for this space outside of the school? That there's the intent that it'll be available to the community and for other programs and events?
And what I said is, I mean, everything has to be done in a manner that's appropriate. I think sometimes you gotta have a little bit of leap of faith that the school is not gonna go out and be having dance parties to all hours of the night. There's gonna be, and I know there's been issues with the church, they're apparently leaving as well. So, that should really rectify, I think, the main community concern historically here. But that was my testimony, so I'm just trying to clarify.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand, part of the testimony on how it promotes the general welfare of the community.
There's no.
Well, first of all, just in the school itself, this is not for this type of testimony, is an inherently beneficial use as a matter of law has been determined to promote the general welfare of the community. If this use was not permissible here, as a matter of law, it's considered to be appropriate in any district throughout any town because it's an inherently beneficial use. That's how it promotes the general.
So it already has a benefit to the community without the addition because of its use as a school. So the addition doesn't, it's, being a school, you're saying, I just want to make sure I understand. Being a school generally promotes the welfare of the community as being zoned as a school. So the addition of a gymnasium, it took, that benefit's already there, that's what I'm saying.
Well, I also talked again about the recreational benefits.
Yeah.
May I add in? Okay.
Yes.
The worry then is, of course, well, now we're just gonna have all these people and so many different things. The neighbors are gonna have people driving in at all times, and I totally get that. To be totally honest, if we build this when we build this and if this is built, I would rather not have anybody else use it. I'm just being honest, because it'll get wear and tear, and we're gonna have this beautiful new gym. And at the same time, I know I'm in this community, and so I don't want it to just be words only. I want to be like, no, if the community needs help and they call up and they want a Saturday afternoon program, how can I sit here with this big, beautiful facility and not allow it to them? But then there's this third party called the neighbors, right? Because you're like, if it was alone in 40 acres, then go help the community all you want. So I get the difference here. So somehow we have to be able to do this so that you're not worried that we're gonna just have some people flying in there every minute, right? But I'm not doing it for a revenue source. We're not. But if the community says, now we did it, can you help us? That's where I keep hesitating in how to answer you, because I don't know how to say no to that. Do you see what I'm saying, where the problem is?
I also think it's uncomfortable to say the community can use it and the town can use it, because that's like a quid pro quo.
Yeah.
Like, it's not comfortable. Like, hey, we built this space, you guys can use it. It's not comfortable.
Right, to the neighbors, or to me.
It's just not, it's not.
Doesn't have boundaries on it.
There's no boundaries
Right.
on it. It's like, well, if you let us build this, then hey, then you guys can use our recreation space. I don't think that should be a factor in determining whether this application moves forward or
Agreed.
not. It should be, based on, you want it for your school.
Well, I agree with
It shouldn't be, determinant on whether the borough of Rockaway is gonna use the space.
I agree, I was just saying it is an add-on. Like, this is definitely phrased yes. Yeah, but you're worried, like, with the additional Boy Scout troops that we might say yes to.
We have strong concerns, and I guess we can share them later.
No, I hear, yeah, and I understand that. We do have to talk about it, yeah.
Yes, sir. Excuse me, are you finished?
I'm done.
Okay, thank you very much. Sir?
So we blow the cow. What do you call the width of that front of that driveway, the minimum we were talking about?
I'm gonna really have to defer to the site engineer on dimensions.
Which driveway are you referring
The
to?
very front, I keep picking where, right, the narrow
County
spot,
or here?
right there.
This one?
Yes.
That one measures,
I mean, it's just for safety, that's why.
There's the screwdriver, fire truck through there and see if it works.
And Mike, if you want to reiterate that, the fire marshal is.
so again, at its pinch point, it's about 18 feet. Again, that operates as a one-way.
Yep. So the E code of Rockaway says 20 feet minimum, okay? And then it says over here, on the ICC digital codes itself, 103.61, it has to be between 20 and 26 feet. So you're shy of it.
Well, that's a condition that has been there for several years. It's
But we're talking
pre-existing.
about, that's existing, but we're talking about now you're putting something new, you have to meet the ICC rules itself and the E codes of Rockaway Borough. Minimum is 20 feet. It's here in writing itself. And it's on the state and the E codes of Rockaway itself. It doesn't meet it.
Well, from an ordinance perspective, it's a pre-existing condition and there's no change to it.
But you're
Because
putting.
we're not proposing that driveway, it's there.
And so now you're putting up.
May I jump in real quick?
Yeah.
Mr. Roth, I did have a little time to look through the existing conditions plan, and I do feel there's a little bit of room there to possibly widen that drive. There's a little bit of room before you get to the fence, because the fence is posted at the top of the hill there. I think it would make everybody feel a little bit more comfortable if we can get a little bit more width there, and I think there's probably room for the 18 inches to get you to that 20 feet. Should the board view this application favorably, the engineer, in my opinion, is correct that it is a pre-existing non-conforming condition, but if we are able to make that better as part of this application, I think it is worth the very little bit of de minimis extra impervious coverage in that area to kind of straighten it out a little bit. Yeah, that's where that rounded piece is. No, we're talking about the part that's closer to the fence. So there's distance, if you look at the existing conditions survey on sheet If you look at the existing conditions survey on sheet 2, you can see right, Mr. Roth, the pinch point is I'm looking at the page to the left, right? Right where it says like electric line markout, that's about where the pinch point is. So it looks pretty clear to me there that we have about 1.5 feet of extra space. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and I appreciate you bringing that up, and we can take a closer look at that and widen it.
Yeah, no problem. I think it would be ideal if we could get that entire driveway to meet the 20 foot. I think it's, again, a very de minimis increase in impervious coverage. That's, the trade-off is positive there. Again, it is a pre-existing condition, but we are always looking for ways to make it better.
Samantha, you're not an engineer. How do you describe where the driveway needs to be widened? Help me understand. I'm trying to call this van on the street.
Let's just simplify it to the one-way access drive that runs parallel to Academy Street. Yeah, kind of, yeah, right.
I know exactly where you mean, but I'm just trying to.
Yeah, let's call it the driveway access parallel to Academy Street. It's pretty clear on the plans where the narrow point is. It's only a small section that is that narrow. We're talking maybe 10 feet or so. That's really that narrow. Everything else is wider than 20 feet. It actually significantly in some areas.
It's gonna be okay. How's he gonna make it okay?
We're talking about this piece right here. Right here. Yeah, away from it, not closer to the building, closer to the fence. Top of it. Yeah.
So are you finished?
Yeah, I'm done, yes.
Thank you so much for that. Yes, sir.
I suggest the fire marshal run 20 miles an hour with his 40-foot truck around that corner. And if he can't do it, if he can't, well, even 10 miles an hour around that corner. What are you gonna do if there's a fire? I don't care what the fire marshal says, if there's a fire, you have to do it.
But that's really not a question now.
First of all,
I think the question or the possible way to mitigate the concern here is, Mr. Roth, would it be possible that, again, if the board doesn't view this application favorably, that as a condition of approval, that the template for the fire truck be shown on that access drive such that it can navigate, which is what the fire marshal would have looked at during his assessment, and we can visually show that and have that in documentation for record purposes.
but you gotta put cars in those parking lots when you do it.
Sir, the side, the narrow side you're talking about, you're never gonna put a fire truck in there anyway. Because if you put a fire truck in there, it's too close to the building. It's not I was a chief at one time. And you're not gonna put a fire truck in there, it's too close to the building, it's not feasible to put a truck in there. You're gonna fight the fire from the other side, or you're gonna fight it from the streets, okay? Number one or number two. So, don't worry about, if the fire marshal said you can fight the fire the way it is now with the new plans, he's right. You can fight the fire, because you're not gonna put a truck in that little skinny narrow alleyway. It's not gonna happen.
I think the concern, Mark, is just to make sure that it could get around the building so it could get to the rear if the other access was blocked.
It can get there, but it's.
And that is what the fire marshal agrees with you on, so that's why I think if we could just get that documented, that would solidify any concerns that, the public or the applicant or students or parents at the school may even have about the situation. So I'm sure they'd be concerned as well.
Yes, sir.
Jeffrey Nemetchek, 15 Hubland Avenue, question for the witness. You said that there's no detriment to the public with this project, and I'm wondering how the answers were all framed as theoretical abstractions and assumptions. What have you done to determine that this is actually objectively true in the state? What factual surveys have you instituted to determine that this particular project is a benefit to this particular neighborhood?
You asked me two different things here. You talked about detriments and you talked about benefits. Can you just maybe clarify the two questions for me?
Well, you're the one who said no detriment.
Yeah, do you want me to talk about the detriments?
Well, you're
Well, the detriments are from a zoning.
It's two questions, one for detriment, one for benefit.
The detriments talk about it from the zoning perspective. I mean, this board's evaluating, my testimony and its credence. I review your planning reports, your engineering reports, things that impact the public, what are lighting, noise, in the context of a building that's too tall or too close to a street. And I talked about all those and why they make sense on this property. This is an existing site that is operating as a school and has addition associated with it. Again, if this was something that was not even permissible, because the school has already been here, it's less likely to create new negative impacts. Again, the religious facility, which I think most of the concerns were associated with, is leaving, and the site's gonna go back to 100% school property.
Well,
So-
you're increasing the size of the buildings by 78%. That's a very large increase. Materially, it creates a material difference. You're going from 20% coverage of the site with buildings to 25% coverage.
That's inaccurate, I've been told by the other witnesses.
Sorry?
Your statement's inaccurate.
What's inaccurate?
Your statement that the site the building is increasing by 78%.
No, you start with 14%, and then you go to 25%, mathematically, you're increasing the amount of buildings by 78%. The project will increase the amount of buildings on the site by 78% over what it is now. It's simple
You're adding 11%. 11% is not 78 or 14.
No, you start out with 14%, you go to 25%.
Yeah, you're adding 11%.
That's 78%.
You know what percentage it's talking about to clarify?
Yeah, so it's,
We'll get a response.
Well, it's 78%, it's mathematics, I'm not making this up.
so existing is, and this is building coverage, is 14%, and it's going to 25%.
That's, yes, and that difference is a 78% increase. 78% increase.
He's right.
What's the percent increase?
78% increase.
Okay. 25
I
divided by
think to
14.
rephrase it, you're increasing it by
1.78.
78% of the existing.
The building,
78%
not the
of
property.
existing, plus that equals that.
Building.
Mathematical.
Because that building coverage is
But
not
that's not-
regulated
Yeah.
for conditional use.
How does it,
The site from a zoning perspective, it's based on the amount of impervious coverage, there's no building coverage standard. So we're not, in that regard, we're not in any way impacting the ordinance. What we're seeking is an impervious coverage of approximately 63%, where 60% is existing. That's the delta.
Okay, well, I'm concerned about the overall amount of activity on this site.
Okay, and I testified to previously that there were more children on the site than there are today, in terms of the previous.
Well, children are not buildings. I mean, you say this is going to be all this testimony about how beneficial this is. What is the benefit to the surrounding property owners?
Well, I look at it generally as a community-wide resource here, and I testified to that again. I testified to the recreational benefits of a town that has a significant recreation and open space deficit, that this individual is willing to open up to the community.
Okay, so you're telling me that our property values of surrounding property owners are going to go up as a consequence of this benefit?
Well, only a land appraiser can evaluate property values. It's not under my expertise.
You're giving us abstractions, that's the problem. In theoretical approach, it's going to be better. But when you look at concrete things, I don't think it's true. I don't think you established it objectively. It's only theory that you're saying this is a benefit. Not objectively to the people who actually live there now.
I can understand your frustration, but don't argue with the witness, please. Just pose a question. He knows the answer, or he doesn't, or he's not qualified to answer, then move on.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we have to follow the rule of law, and the law in New Jersey is stacked the way it is, and he's following exactly the template that's laid out in the law.
Well,
And the law has no logic, I'm afraid.
I will defer further comment until I'm able to speak with this, so I will not burden the witness with
Right.
further queries.
You're going to get a chance to say everything you want to say.
Yep. Any other questions? Seeing none, then we close the meeting and to the public. And thank you all for your questions. Yeah, council, we're going to open the meeting to the public and let the public give their testimony. So we're gonna ask them if they come up and use the microphone on the table, so it'll be much better on the record. Okay, this is the time now where we're asking the public to give testimony, information that they may have about this particular site and what they've seen. You're gonna have to, again, name and address and be sworn in.
Sure. Priscilla Massey, 99 Academy Street, Rockaway.
Do you solemnly swear the evidence you're about to give before this board shall be the entire truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for taking time to listen to us this evening, and I do appreciate all the information that was shared tonight
Just pull
about.
that microphone, you
Okay.
practically have to eat it to make it work.
I have a cold, I don't want to give it to anybody else. I thank everybody for their time tonight, and I do appreciate the information. Publicly, I'm gonna say it's disappointing that myself as well as my neighbors just found out about this within the last several days. You know, so we have not had the opportunity to analyze any of this information, to digest it, and really see how it's gonna impact our homes and our families. So, and I understand that there's minimum requirements for notification, but I think as a community who's very concerned, or a school that's very concerned about their neighbors and contributing to the community, it might have been nice to get a knock on the door and say, we're gonna be doing this. What do you think about this? How do you feel about that? Historically, my concern with this extension is that, and first may I say, I was very glad that the school was gonna be occupied. It was an empty building, and it's wonderful when an educational space can be used for that. I think that's wonderful. And when the school came and they said, well, we want to add this tenant and have a church, you know, there was some apprehension. But again, we're thinking, okay, it's a church, it's our community, okay, let's see how it goes. It's exceptionally noisy. It is not just, and we have complained, and there has been no resolution. And really, it's just, particularly for myself and Mr. Wilson, who live just like right across, it's this unending bass sound, that the decibels and the way the bass comes through literally vibrates our house.
On Sundays?
On Saturday nights, Friday nights, Sundays. I mean, I get Sundays, everybody worships in a different way. Some people are very, you know, voluminous. It's great. But it's Friday nights, Saturday nights. There are events there often. If, you know, I think the proposed school is over at 3:30 is not the case. Maybe school is over at 3:30, but there are events going on. They have prayer groups there during the week, or they stay there prayer groups. But it's very noisy. You know, it's DJs, it's loud, it's bass music. So it's kind of like having a catering hall next to your house. So my concern is that the one variance that was allotted is opening up, you know, more types of businesses. There's a structure, this is an enormous structure for 100 kids. You know, and that the ask from the community here and the ask of this board is to approve this project, you know, for a limited amount of students that will benefit from this a couple of hours a day, and that only, you know, as reported, 3 of the families live in Rockaway Borough. They're asking for 8 variances. They're asking for a lot from the board and from the neighbors, you know, and I think that it's an over ask. That is what I think. And I'm also very concerned, based on the testimony, that the revenue raised to build this structure that's maybe $3.5 million, and they have 2.5. Where is the rest coming from? What business plan is in place to fund the rest of that? Is that business plan including rental space or renting the space, which then brings more use onto the property? So that, I will say, is my major concern, because I didn't hear that there's complete funding for the project. You know, I did look at the American Christian School 990s on GuideStar, and it did not look like there was enough resources or revenue in 2024. There was not excess. there was a negative. So I'm concerned that there's not enough money to support the project, and then to have the project be finished, as presented, it's gonna require, more uses and more requests of this board to have, more variances, to allow more uses in it, because then they have to make the money to pay it off or whatever. There's not a sense of trust with the school that what happens on the property outside of the school hours is being controlled, I guess. So, and with that, and in light of all that, I respectfully ask this application be declined. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Someone else?
I'm Paul Wilson, as I've said before.
Raise your right hand, sir. Do you solemnly swear the evidence you're about to give before this board shall be the entire truth?
Absolutely, I
Thank you,
do.
sir.
Thank you. I was probably the first one when they asked to have church services. I thought, great, I love to have church services. But then the first time that we started hearing anything, they're drumming drums continuously for hours, shaking the walls, shaking the floor, and that sound, I don't know if anybody in here realizes it, we're on the top of a mountain. When we dug our basement, we ran into, what do you call it?
Leg rock.
Well, not just leg rock, the rock that's used in mountains. The rock that you go out here to Green Pond, you look at the mountain, that kind of rock that you see there. And they're going to run into that when they try to put, not a basement, but a foundation under this thing. And that foundation rocks, let me put it this way, when we moved into our house, the rafters in our house were already broken because of the noise from Picatinny. All right? I mean, Picatinny was exploding things. And that sound traveled through the rock structure under our house and broke the rafters that were in our house. Now, when the neighbors, starts pounding on their drums, in our house and in our yard, the sound is higher, greater than it is inside their current gymnasium. Okay, what's going to happen when they start pounding basketballs? What's going to happen when they have kids over there? Yeah. What's going to happen? I'm 82 years old. My wife is 81 years old. We don't want to move, but you're forcing us to. You're forcing us to. The Christian school, I love schools. We homeschooled our kids. We sent our kids to St. Cecilia's school. We love schools, we love children. I have no problem with kids playing in the yard. The open space, this is not open space. This is closed space that you're adding to the property. It's not open space. He talked about open space, we need more open space. Indeed, Rockaway Borough needs open space. They don't need closed space. Closed space causes a lot of problems. You want your kids outside playing and so forth, but they have a basketball course and right now we see kids that are 7th and 8th graders playing in the yard, but we're now talking about 12th graders playing basketball. You and I know that they're not going to be quiet. They can't be quiet. I wouldn't want them to be quiet. But it's no place for them to be in a facility where there's houses within 20 feet of the school. This is a very small space, and it's going to be very noisy. talk about lighting. Right now, there's a light outside that school that shines in our window day and night. It's been that way for about a year and a half or two. I forget when it started, day and night. This is not a neighborhood which is appropriate for what's trying to be done here. It's just not.
Thank you, sir. Someone else who would like to testify? Yes, sir, please come up. And if you would be so kind as to raise your right hand. You solemnly swear the evidence you're about to give before this board shall be the entire truth.
Yes, sir.
And identify yourself for the record, please.
Jeffrey Nemechek, 15 Hilton Avenue, Rockaway Borough. I just wanted to start out with an aside, actually. I got notice on Saturday, and I had one business day to deal with this. And I know the law is like 10 days for notice, but I believe the borough has the ability to adopt an ordinance that will extend the time period for purposes of the borough for public notice. So because I have only 1 day reaction time to this, and it's really tight, and I could have been distracted with something else, my schedule would be different, I would suggest you consider adopting an ordinance down the road. It doesn't affect this proceeding, but it may help future proceedings. Just a thought. So I oppose the grant of the variances in the project. I want to say I think the school's curriculum is very commendable and a very positive thing in general, but I'm talking about what I would like, my personal preferences for one thing, and I have to approach this from the point of view of being a property owner. And you're dealing with what turned out to be a 70% increase in the amount of buildings on this site. And I want to go back to a little bit of history. I moved here into the borough, into my present house in 1988. My daughters attended Washington School, which is what the original building was, which I think was constructed in 1883, if I'm not mistaken. And the building was used for kindergarten, first and second grade. It was very low impact. And it fit into the neighborhood. It fit into the fact that, you know, Academy Street's a narrow road. It was something you could easily live with. I mean, little children might go out to play, but it didn't make much noise. It wasn't even open, I don't think, a full day. It was a shorter period than that. And there was activity on the weekend. It fit into the neighborhood, is what I'm trying to say. It didn't burden the neighborhood very much. And then later on, that school was decommissioned, and no longer is a public school. And then another institution went into the building and built an extension. And we had an increase in the amount of activity on the site. So instead of what the situation that I bought into when I bought my property, no longer, didn't quite exist in the same way. It was a more active site. I don't know if variance was needed to make those additional property extensions at that time or not. So now we're going into another wave, however. We have that particular institution left, and it was purchased by the present school. And now they're expanding the site, the amount of buildings on the site by 78%. And that's a significant burden, I think. And my reaction is that this proposal puts too much buildings on too little space. And it detracts from the residential nature of the neighborhood. Because at a certain point, you reach a breaking point, a tipping point. It goes from something that the neighborhood can accommodate to something that the neighborhood really can't accommodate. And I think they're hitting a tipping point with this. There's too much usage on this site, and too much activity. The neighborhood was never designed to accommodate this level of activity. The site in the school was originally designed, as I said, to be a low-impact elementary school. And now, now there is a mismatch, in my belief, between the original use and the proposed use for the site. We're basically looking at what I think is an oversized development on the site, and that will detract from the residential nature of the neighborhood, and probably lower property values for homes in the immediate area. And I think that's my basic conclusion on this point. I have some other points. We're asking for variances. Variances will run with the land, and we're talking about a variance requested by this school. However, this school may not be there forever, and they might leave at some point and be replaced by somebody else. And we don't know who that somebody else is, but they're going to have more space to do whatever it is they want to do. And if they up the level of activity by their inherent nature, then we're buying into problems down the road that don't even exist today. Variances were put in to protect, in part, to protect property owners, and they should be handed out with due restraint, and not liberally, because let me get specific about this particular problem. This school has three sites. They may choose to consolidate someplace. Well, they can't consolidate on this site, it's too small. They might buy property someplace else. In 5 years or 10 years, they could be out of there. We're dealing with somebody who don't even know who it is yet. So I'm concerned about the fact that the variance is forever. And the applicant isn't. They're just there for the time being. So we don't know what we're getting ourselves into by increasing the size of the site, because the future is unknown. Well, I think I have a better handle on the cost of the facility and how they're going to finance it, but they still don't have enough, and I'm concerned that the project might give the variances and the project may never happen, or you might get the variance to start the project and you can't get sufficient financing to finish it, which would be a big problem. I don't know how you deal with that, but it's a risk factor. You might wind up with an unfinished structure the same way you do later down on Academy Avenue. You have a building that somebody was building and they stopped, and you have walls that are partly up and no activity. So I'm concerned about that part of it. We don't have full funding. There's the issue that I'm concerned about. That I'm a little concerned, given the past history of this particular applicant, to wanting to lease out space was done to this church. It's certainly there. I'm a little concerned that they have an interest in going into the rental business, which isn't really their business at all. I don't think we should be building buildings if they just want to lease out space to somebody else. So that's another issue. It's hard for me to evaluate that too much, but it is a concern. Let me see, I have a question that was answered. Let me see. I am concerned that there may be more traffic congestion on Oakland Avenue and traffic flows. I'm not sure I completely understand how that's supposed to work. Because you're taking out a corridor. It was in a corridor from the parking area down to Academy Street. That could be a potential problem. That's a relatively minor problem. city. The other thing is, structures like this seem to inevitably involve an increase in municipal services, which means that taxes will go up in the borough, and this is a tax exempt entity. They will not pay those taxes, but those costs will be imposed on those who live in the borough who do pay taxes, real estate property taxes. And that is a concern. It would be a burden to increase the site by 78%, the buildings by 78%, and then impose the tax burden on the taxpayers of the borough. And maybe that could, if you get to the point where you grant the variances, maybe that could be mitigated by a payment of the taxes agreement. I know it's a tax-exempt organization. They would actually redo this voluntarily. I think that's the gist of what I wanted to say. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else? Yes, ma'am, please come forward.
Sorry.
You solemnly swear the evidence you're about to give before this board should be the entire truth.
I do, I solemnly swear.
Thank you.
My name is Christy Weber. I am a resident of Rockaway Borough. I have lived in Rockaway Borough for 30 years. I am a homeowner. I live on Cobb Street. I walked here this evening. In full disclosure, I work at ACS. I was a public school teacher for 33 years. I retired last June. In a walk around Parks Lake last summertime, pondering my future and enjoying my beautiful walk, I decided to check out ACS. I made a phone call, sent an email, and asked to come speak to the principal of the school and to learn a little bit about the school. During my time, I have found ACS to be an absolute gem. I had no intention of speaking tonight, but I did write down some notes that I thought I would like to share. In addition to it being a gem of a school, I would like you to know that it is a small, inclusive place. As an educator, I would like to speak to the climate and culture of the school. ACS is a warm and nurturing environment. Our students get excited about extracurricular activities. Extracurricular activities are good for kids. I think it's important to know that, especially when they are supervised and students are safe, they are an absolute benefit to our community, these extracurricular activities. As an employee at the school, I am often tasked with hall duty and cafeteria duty. So I get the opportunity to really observe the students in a very open environment and to really get to know them. Our students get excited about extracurricular activities. The excitement that comes from them on days when we have volleyball practice, or they're getting to talk about their volleyball games, or it's the school play, which I got to spend a lot of time volunteering and helping with, or whether it's a student government activity or a community event, they learn leadership, they learn cooperation, they learn sportsmanship, and it is good for their mental and physical health. With all this being said, I see how the need to find a ride to a distant practice or a game is difficult for students. It's difficult for their parents. I often see their disappointment when sometimes they just can't go because the event is not held at the school. For these reasons, I respectfully ask the board to approve the ACS application to build the new gymnasium as it supports the vision and values of the school. In my opinion, the gymnasium is a benefit to our community. Our children are our future. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is Anyone else that would like to come and testify? Yes, sir, please come forward. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this board should be the entire truth. Thank you.
My name is Chris. My name is Chris Gandy. I live at 55 Hill Street. I'm a neighbor to the school and a member of the Rockaway Borough Parks and Recs Committee. On behalf of the Rec Committee, I'd like to express our explicit support for this gymnasium project. More recreational space in the community is always appreciated, so I thank you. As a father in this town and a member of St. Clement's Church, I also applaud what American Christian is trying to do for our youth and support this expansion. In my opinion, we can never do enough for our kids, and I think that this investment is a step in the right direction for our community. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else? Seeing no one, then I close the meeting to the public. Counselor, I'm sure you want to.
How much time do I have? This big, Mr. Chairman, I don't think I can add any more than my professional team already has. You heard the testimony for several hours of an extremely well thought out design intended to fulfill the need of the school. The planning testimony was extremely thorough and really tied in our various experts' testimony, and I would not like to waste the board's time to belabor summarizing that again. So with that, I respectfully request that this board act favorably on our application and vote yes to approve the application subject to the conditions discussed this evening. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Counselor. Going forward, someone make a motion?
I have a question first, and maybe it's for Golda, I'm not sure. I wasn't on. It's Barbara.
Can you hear Barb okay?
Can you hear me? Usually no one has ever asked me to speak up in my entire life. My understanding is, I mean, I know that the original building was a historical building, and I wasn't on the land use board when the town sold it, when it was no longer the Washington School. I'm wondering if there are any deed restrictions associated with the property, and I don't know whose responsibility that is to look. That they can use it for, I don't know if the town sold it with any conditions about what can be there and what can't be there, and I'm wondering if anybody else knows, or how we find out.
We could ask the applicant to engage in that research. Any deed restrictions would not be overridden by an action this board took. So, for example, if there's a deed that says no schools, and this board said, okay, enlarge your school, the deed would trump.
If the town, my concern is that I'm interested in whether additional building is allowed at all, if there was a deed restriction on the property. And so if, let's say, for example, hypothetically, we approve the application tonight with whatever conditions we decide to apply, and we find out later that there is indeed a deed restriction, then that approval goes away. Is that true?
The deed restriction would control, it would be.
Right, would
not
trump
be
our
overridden
decision.
by this action.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. I understand that now. I just wanted to make sure if there was any kind of a restriction in place that we didn't make a mistake. Thank you.
I think the handicap school already put like a small addition on it anyway.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve with caveats.
Is there a second for the motion? Second.
I would also make a motion to approve with the following conditions. That the drywell proposed on the property would have a maintenance schedule that would be part of the deed restriction which would follow the property in perpetuity. That the flagpole be relocated, not eliminated. Bike rack would be added, I believe we talked about that earlier. Traffic signals for the flow of entrance and exit from the parking lot will be added on the property.
just to clarify, I think you mean traffic signage, not
Signage.
signals, not like
No,
flashing
no,
lights
no,
or anything,
no, no,
okay.
signage,
okay.
sorry, signage. Signage, okay, thank you.
Just want to clarify.
Signage, okay. And that the bell tower will be remodeled in keeping with the historic character of the building as part of the project. That'll be an add-on. And noise ordinances of the borough will be strictly enforced. And a widening, and you're gonna have to tell me what the wording on this, Samantha, the widening of the Academy Street egress to 20 feet to remedy the existing non-conforming condition.
I think that's adequate.
Okay.
We can amend the verbiage a little bit when we put in the resolution, but you hit the primary focus.
Okay, that's it.
That's it, and the maker of the motion always, one second. Hey, you're always free to ask.
You can always ask.
Question to you is, can we put stipulations on that it can be only school issues or some function of the borough only that goes on at there to eliminate, the neighbors are concerned that the events, whether the school's here or not, can go on in whatever parties there.
Are you asking about the noise?
No.
Can we limit
He's saying,
the use
can you
in
use,
the activity room to school functions, or if they decide to let the town borrow it, town functions only, not private.
Reasonable restrictions
Yes.
are allowable.
Yeah.
Who decides what's reasonable?
Oh, wait a minute.
Well, I mean, it would seem that you're inclined toward school-related uses. is that-
School-related uses, yes.
And that would
Whether it's the
include
town or-
basketball, dodgeball.
Yes.
Occasional, what about concerts?
concert or
No, school, like a school-related play. Yeah, not like they bring in the local,
Yeah, and there's a stage there, it's
Yes.
pretty cool.
or like the.
I have a question. I have a question.
I don't want them
Yes,
making.
sure. So the noise that you're hearing, what time does it stop?
Sometimes 10 o'clock at night.
That's the noise ordinance.
Right. But it's invasive. My neighbor is not lying to you, the house shakes.
I understand.
So the decibel levels are not correct with the bass volume.
I have the same problem where I live with the church. And they rent their hall out on Beach Street to a lot of people not in this town. And they play nothing but bass, and my windows go like this.
Yeah.
You start calling the cops at 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock, they can go tell them to turn it down. Just saying, I've done it, we've done it, and they turn it down.
We've asked the headmaster, it didn't make a difference.
The cops,
No, you gotta
all
call-
the cops,
You gotta call the police.
and complain
Physically
that they, and
police
to turn it down.
Every day, every week.
That's why I'm asking to limit it just to school functions. Whether
She
it's
can't stop them if they're renting, if they're doing things until they're not there.
If there's school functions, she can do
The
what.
church function from their renting.
Can you request
Well,
that they turn that down?
that's one of.
She is absolutely going to address, as the landlord, she will be addressing these issues regarding their tenant, without a doubt. I don't think that makes its way into this resolution, that doesn't pertain to this approval, but she is on high alert about that, and we can represent to this board and the members of the public that are here tonight that Ms. Brennan will be handling that first thing tomorrow.
Does she have a problem with us limiting the functions that can go on in the gymnasium to school-related functions?
I heard you mention that to council, and my thought was, where does school, it's just vague to me, because she mentioned the Boy Scouts approached her for space. I mean, that's not a school function, that's not a town function, that's
What entity or what operation is generating the music that the residents are complaining?
Our tenant is generating our tenant, the church.
Drums and stuff like that.
Right, but you understand me, you may not always be the school that's there.
Yes, yeah.
Right, and I wanna be able to word this so that in the future, if there's another school that comes in there, that they don't bring in, you know, Joe and the Beatles to come in and play music on every Friday night, because we have it not limited to school functions.
Right,
You said school functions and borough functions.
Yeah,
So what-
so I'm telling you, if you've got a school play, I got no problem with that. You gotta stay, I understand
Yeah, but
that.
what if they have?
Well, it sounds like this was a
What if
done
they-
deal,
what
backdoor
if they-
deal between the borough and you guys.
Stand by one minute, because the
I
noise
know
that
the
you're
borough
hearing
can go
now
there, it
is
doesn't,
not
it
coming
sounds like this
from
was
the
worked out
borough.
before.
Right,
No,
exactly.
none of
How's the
this
rec
happened.
nota come here?
What?
How's the rec nota come here?
You're not specifically talking about the noise right now, you're just.
I'm not talking about noise right now, I'm talking about the new noise at the end of the major room.
Who sent you those? But how do you know that you're?
Preventing the noise.
It just sounds like that you guys talked
Excuse
about
me,
it. That's my
excuse me.
Please, please.
Mark is trying to decide, should the school fail and Joe, disco owner, buys the school and converts it into a discotheque?
And that's not a school-related function, he can't do it.
And it's not allowed in an
Yeah,
R1
but it's-
area either, it has to get a variance.
Right.
But also,
It's just to
if
go
it
in
was,
there.
right, if it was a different.
I know that, but I'm
altogether.
just saying, even if another school comes in, they want Disco Joe on Friday to make money. They can't do it, it's not a school-related function.
But what if they,
There's still
what
a
if it's a
noise
fundraiser?
ordinance,
Call the
ordinance.
police and tell them to turn it.
I know that, but I still want it written in.
You're not, you may not.
We have a chance to do something, let's do it now, so we nip it. These gentlemen out in the gallery have asked us to do something. They don't want us to do it at all, but if we're gonna do it, let's do it and try to address their concerns. That's my concern. You understand what I'm coming with? These people have concerns, and my goal, being on the board here, is trying to.
May I speak to agree with you?
Right.
Yes, I think that's great, because we're trying to find a way. So you just said school-related and borough-related, but now there's a worry that we're somehow we're in cahoots. We only said borough-related because we're trying to say to help the community to keep it small.
Right.
So if you find words that makes everybody understand that there's no hidden agenda, we'll agree to it. I'm not trying to do anything except have a school that can function and stay, because this was always a school. The fact that we're adding a gym doesn't eliminate the fact that we're always gonna have the same kids here, and we've all agreed for 100 years.
You're not trying to add 50 classrooms.
No
You're not going to
classrooms.
school.
Just make this school
You're
that
gonna-
we bought as a school, and we want to operate better. They've been happy with the school, but they're not happy with the noise now, which I have to figure out for sure.
If there's a way, John, you can talk with our lawyer, and you can figure out better wording than I'm asking for, I would appreciate that. That's all I'm asking for, to limit it to.
Yes, but we're not taking any action because it's not before us to address the existing noise problem.
Right, it's not.
No, we're not messing with the existing noise problem. That's, unfortunately, that's not before us, right?
The existing noise problem has nothing to do with this application.
Correct.
There's no,
But we're not trying, I don't wanna make another noise problem
we don't want to create another.
by leaving it open.
Right.
The borough does have a noise ordinance, and there should be noise enforcement officers
There
who can take decibel readings. So, anyway,
And
you
this-
there.
and
All right,
based
does
on
the
that-
maker of the motion accept?
Yes.
And the seconder accept?
Wait, except, I personally don't want to add something that said we have to limit their functions. I think we do have a noise ordinance in the borough specifically stating that noise ordinance of the borough will be observed. And if they're not, as Joyce said, and I see Ken is also in favor, that you call the police. If that doesn't work out, you talk to the headmaster and you work something out. But if all else fails with the headmaster, you still fall back on existing ordinances. I think it's really impossible for us to say, well, limited to school activities, and then, like you said, what if it's the Boy Scouts or some other group that's not likely to make noise?
Yeah,
So
school activities is a very slippery
it's,
slope.
yeah, and I gotta think that would end up in court and it would get ugly. So I'm gonna stick with the following conditions: that the drywell be maintained, that the flagpole is relocated, not eliminated, that the bike rack will be added, that traffic signage for flow through in the parking lot will be added, and that the bell tower will be remodeled in keeping with the historic character of the building, and widen the Academy Street egress to 20 feet to remedy existing non-conforming condition, and that make a notation that all parties will agree that noise ordinance of the borough will be observed.
Or I got one more, just so it's clear, that the EV spaces are added. We know that the engineer testified to it, and it's in the letter, but it's important to have a condition because.
I'm gonna pick up all the
Yeah,
recommendations
but
of
without it, it's another variance.
the engineer. and-
Okay, so,
She's in there.
so do I have to add something about EV spaces?
I'm gonna include that.
Okay.
Just what you wanna say is include the recommendations of the planner or the engineer.
Thank you.
Now, Mark, are you making a motion to add that?
Yes.
So then we need to be a second, and if there is a second, then what happens is a vote on your motion to amend the motion in chief first, and then, if, depending on which way
Oh,
that
you're
goes.
talking about my wording that I wanted to do?
Your school uses, school and borough related.
Just nix that.
Okay,
We'll go with Barbara's got a better idea. I'll go with that, that's fine.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay, so that's what I have.
Okay, any discussion on the motion?
Well, discussion, actual motion, I guess, is I just strongly hope that the current situation can be resolved and the noise gets resolved. Absolutely.
I agree.
gotcha.
Any other discussions? May we have a roll call vote, please?
Grant Edward,
Yes.
Joy Fireman,
Yes.
Ronald Hammond,
Yes.
Mark Howard,
Yes.
Barbara Bush,
Yes.
Kim Rhodes, Dan Quinn.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.